Hey, everybody, I'm Mike.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Mark.
Yes.
This is the Board Game Rundown, and we are live from our basements because we're laying the foundation for board game coverage. How are we doing, guys?
Good. I felt bad we didn't tell Mark that that's how we were going to open the show, but he picked it up well.
Good surprise.
Yeah, that's if we're anything, we're surprising, maybe. Good to see Andrew and Nix. Thank you guys for being here. We asked Mark was on Facebook. He's got a game on Kickstarter right now, was kind of offering up like, hey, I like to talk to people. And I was like, hey, we like to talk to people too. So we got Mark on the show. We're going to talk to him about his Kickstarter in a few minutes and kind of get to know him as a designer. He also picked the top 5 we're doing tonight, which is awesome because deck building is one of my favorite mechanics in a game. It used to be like just enough if that was the only mechanic in the game, but now obviously my tastes have evolved a little bit. I still love straight deck building, but having it intermingled is fun too. But while we're here, but right at the top of the show, our buddies over at Third World Studios have a Kickstarter going. It's going really well. They got a week left in charcuterie, Mike.
Yeah, they do.
So we're just like, hey, go check out charcuterie. Great people over there. A really fun game. We're gonna have a video of it soon. We got our prototype for it late, but we do have a video of us playing it at Gen Con, so you can see Spencer, Smoke, Mike, and I at it. I'm pretty sure Spencer won that one, but we filmed it at Gen Con, so that can give you a little bit of an idea for the of what it's like while you're waiting for our regular video to come out. All right, Mike, I got all the business out of the way.
No. Mark, are you drinking anything?
Yeah. Just water with Mio in it like I do every day for work.
That's just fine. That is
Sounds
just fine.
Tim, what are you drinking?
Well, I've got to finish off this energy drink that I started earlier. But
a non-alcoholic seltzer, you mean?
Yeah. It is a non-alcoholic seltzer, actually. It is. I don't feel like you have to preface it with non-alcoholic. I think you could just say a seltzer.
Oh, okay.
But I did pour some Old Crow over some rocks. So I've got that. Man, listen, a new bottle next week for Friendsgiving, and it'll be a quality bottle.
There you go.
I'm just working my way through the dregs.
All right, we'll get this out of the way. New to the show, new riff single barrel. Had some of Tim's this weekend. Very good stuff. All right, so Mark, we want to talk to you, man. So you've got a game on Kickstarter that is a deck builder. And I do know one of your influences, who I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about later. But why don't you just tell us like how you became a gamer and what made you want to design a game?
So I've been in the board game hobby for like the last 10 years, last decade. I went to a convention back in like 2012, 2013, and it ended up playing my first real board game that got me into the series, which was Justin Gary's second expansion for Ascension, Storm of Souls.
Oh, I love Ascension.
Oh, it's like 40% of my shelf is his games, that and AEG. But over time,
I knew that. I looked you up on Facebook. That's all. I learned that pretty quick. There you go.
Oh, everyone knows it for me and my group.
Nice. No shame.
Not at all. And over time, I just started adding to my shelf that I have in my living room of all these board games. And then eventually, as in 3 months ago, I went to my first board game convention, being like the second biggest in the world, being Gen Con. It was such a different experience. And I'm like, I want to go to this more times than just this one.
Yeah, Gen Con's amazing. But it's a lot if you're not ready for it or used to that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I work from home, so it's like I socialize the most with my cat and my dog.
Oh, right on.
Go into the scenario where you're like, oh, there's millions of people here.
Right.
I got to get used to talking to a lot of people and a lot of faces, you know?
That is 0 to 1,000,000, like literally. You know, and maybe a significant other wanders in every once in a while, and then other than that, it's the pets.
Oh yeah.
No, that's cool. I love Ascension. I think it's awesome. I play the digital version of Ascension every day. I have an ongoing online game via the app. I love it. I'll play with strangers. I've got a friend that actually I have that we've had a game now going for probably 2 years where, like one ends, we start a new one and just go.
Oh, dang.
I think Ascension's awesome. Totally underrated. Weirdly enough, I don't own a physical copy of it because every time I go to buy it, I check the app and then just buy the expansion on the app anyways.
I've been delving into the miniatures version, the Ascension Tactics that Justin came
out
with a few years
ago. That
is
so good. It is so good.
Oh my God!
Spoilers, guys! Goodness, gee.
Our buddy
Maybe
Bob
already said it's 40% of his shelf. So how many of his games are in your top 5? I know a lot of times we try to intentionally group certain games together so we can talk about different stuff. But hey, the way everybody approaches these topics is up to them, and that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Tell
us more about City of Myrkesh.
So City of Myrkesh is my take on the deck building genre. Well, when designing my game, I spent about 2.5 years designing / play testing / getting to the point where we are now. There it is. I had 2 questions I wanted to answer that I saw. There was continuous patterns that I saw with deck building games that I was looking at that I eventually saw as problems. But if you're a player who enjoys deck building games, you might not see them as problems. My first question: how do I make every strategy that the game has to offer available at all times? And my second question: how do I remove the side market? So if we can stay on this image real quick, you'll see the board. It has a circular layout, and there's 2 cards in each fifth of the pie. And in order to make sure every strategy was available, I took the 5 different districts that each exemplify a certain play style or strategy, and I made sure there was at least 2 cards out of each district, so that wherever the player is on the board, they'll be able to access what play style they want. They won't be restricted from the center market. Sometimes, for an example, maybe a player wants to do strategy A, but only strategy B and C are out. And that's kind of restricting the player in their way of expressing themselves during the game. So that was how I would solve the first question. My second question with how do I remove the side market? When I refer to a side market, I'm referring to the cards that in Star Realms, the Explorers, that are just the generic cards.
Right.
An Ascension, the Mystic, the Heavy, the Cultist. How do I get rid of that? So my solution was, if you see the picture, there's these decks that are in each district. There are 16 cards per deck, and they all have a cost to them, associated 1 to 6. And within these 16 cards, there's sort of a cost curve. There's a few 1-cost cards, a bunch of 2 costs, a bunch of 3 costs, a few 4s, 1 5, and 1 6. So it's more likely that when you shuffle this deck and deal 2 cards out, that you're going to run into a set of cards that you're going to be able to afford as a player. There's a low probability that a 5 and a 6 could come out, but that's super low on the probability scale. So taking all 5 of these decks, shuffling them up, and then dealing them out, there's going to be something that a player can afford on their starting turn.
There you go.
That was my solution for questions.
So where you're at on the board kind of determines which cards you have access to?
Yes.
I'm getting a sniff of Curse of the Golden Isles out of that.
Really? I haven't played that one. The only other deck building game I've seen that has sort of a movement related mechanic is the Cowboy Bebop deck building game.
Oh, I haven't played that one.
That's one of the Ascensions. That's actually, so here's what's funny is all of my Ascension plays are on the app. But the one I've played, Tim, I thought you reviewed that one, Ascension Curse of the Golden Isles, the pirate one.
Yep, we did.
Or you're kind of moving around in the circle on that one. That one's
one
you gotta try.
It's good, but what Mark's game does that's different is that you have access to multiple cards from each location.
Right.
And so
for sure.
Where in the Curse of the Golden Isles, you really only you have to move to that spot, and that's the one card. So you're trying to move. You don't always even have enough movement to get around to where you need to go, because there are cards that give you movement. In addition to, buying power and combat, because Ascension has a couple different things, right, with their cards.
And if I could jump in for just a sec.
Jump in.
I remember, now that we were talking about it, now I remember that expansion. It was the most recent expansion they came out with.
Yes.
That didn't have miniatures.
Correct.
And depending on where you were on the board, the card you were sitting at, you could spend this resource called Crew. That's basically a buy or a fight resource, but is only usable on the card that you're currently at.
Correct. So that differentiates your game definitely from that. So I just thought it was important to pull that out. Oh, okay. So Bob says you can buy a card from any location. You just have to be there to trigger the anchor abilities. Thank you for clarifying, Bob.
Hey, nice.
Woo.
Bob's one of our other hosts. He's the man. He's got the knowledge.
Yeah, well, he's the lucky turd that got to take that one home. I wanted to keep that one, but Bobby kept it. So
it looks like you got a week left on this thing. So guys, you definitely need to check this one out. I'll drop the link in there for you.
I have more ideas if the audience reception is really good. I had to stop myself designing cards at one point because something that's also unique in my game is that every card in the districts, like every card in each 16 card deck, I should say, is singleton. There's no copies. So once you have a card, it's yours. No one else has it. So that meant that 16 cards in 5 decks is about 70 cards. I had to commission 70 plus a few extra illustrations just to make sure that every card felt unique in its own way.
I will say that I would just say thank you, because I know that was a lot to undertake. But at the same time, we have played games from much larger companies than an independent designer, where sometimes the art gets really repetitive on the cards, and you're like, really? Like,
wait, Tim, you're not specifically referring to Simon putting the Godfather art on the front and backs of every card in the game, are you?
I mean, that could be one of them. That definitely could be one of them. Well, clearly Mark's got some Simon money because he's able to put art on more of the cards. I mean, that could be the only reason.
Process between 11 artists.
Oh my gosh!
Wow!
Oh my gosh! That's awesome, though. Congratulations on that. That's.
Thank you. If I were to go back, I would definitely make a simpler game. But I just had this brainchild in my head for like a few years, and I'm like, I got to make it the way I see it,
Well, I mean, there's something when you're able to let it cook and really work on it for a while. It's another thing if you had to crank it out in just a couple months. But if you've been working on it, because like David said, uniqueness sounds like they might be hard to balance, or the uniques might be hard to balance. I'm going to assume that you've spent a bunch of years playtesting it and working on some of that.
Yeah, I had a very close group of friends that every weekend or every other weekend, they'd come over. I'd give them the current version of the game, and they'd play test it to see what's broken in it, what needs to be stronger, what's too strong. I definitely had a playtester who would only play a specific district when he played the game, and I had to balance that. It was like the trickiest district to balance in the game.
Oh, sure.
The card draw district. Every district has their play styles to give the players an opportunity to express themselves. And one of those is card draw. So that was the district that like really had to, what is the value of drawing a card, the balance around that.
Now, I'm a guy that likes to mix and match a lot of stuff. So is it a plausible or a viable strategy to like kind of take from all the different districts and really kind of have an amalgamation, or do you really need to hyper focus on like one or two?
I wanted both opportunities to be present during the game. So if you wanted to go with, if you wanted to go with, say, Merchant's Row, the Merchant's Row district is all about generating coin, getting bonuses from buying cards. Maybe the cards you buy will go on top of your deck instead of your discard pile, so you'll see them faster. I wanted each district to both work solo. Like if you just sat in Merchant's Row and just bought a ton of Merchant's Row cards, or if you mixed it with another district, like maybe you're building a Merchant's Row Royal Courts deck and it's a lot of brown and purple cards.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make sure that like building the deck for each district was balanced for like their cost and how they interact with other districts.
And so if Mike and I were playing and we both were like Merchant's Row, that's what I'm all about. Like, are we both able to get in there and just try to work our strategy better than the other guy, or do you, the other players, do you have to kind of adjust based on what other players are running for?
That's a good question. So
Ooh.
the with the different districts, every district has their own way of winning the game. If I'm going to go through a small summary of each. We already covered Merchant's Row, the buy the coin faction. You want to get a bunch of cards that are worth a lot of victory points and get them faster than anyone else. The opposite district to that is the Wilds. They're all about generating power. They will get bonuses from dealing a certain amount of damage to the monster. And when you deal damage to the monster, you receive prestige, which is the victory points within the game. And they also allow you to, when you receive your wound cards, which wound cards are dead cards that you receive when you attack the monster, it makes Wilds lets you get those cards out of your deck faster. So you can streamline your deck quicker, because when you play a light wound, it allows you to remove a card from your deck. Do you know, like the banish mechanic in Ascension?
Right. Yep.
So yeah. I stuck that onto wound cards. So if you put effort into fighting the monster, you're going to get rewarded by being able to make your deck more efficient.
Oh, I love culling my deck. That is a mechanic that I thoroughly enjoy in every deck builder that I can.
The middle ground between Merchant's Row and Wilds is the Royal Courts. They generate power and coin. They can be flexible in that regard. They also like to disrupt your opponents a little bit. So, if you can scroll down, and I can actually just have it be on the one we're talking about, very bottom. Yep, Royal Courts, generating coin power. They also have a little bit of a controlling aspect to them, where they can hand out taxes to your opponent, so it slows down their coin generation. They also have religious figures, so they have the tithe mechanic, which forces your opponent to just discard a card, and you might get something depending on what kind of card it is.
I love that.
If we could scroll up one, Industrial Grounds, the gray cards, this is the card draw faction, the trickiest one I had to balance. If you want to draw your deck a bunch, you want to draw extra cards, you want to impact the hand size of yourself to make it bigger or lower your opponent's hand size, or if you like having cards with multiple options, modal cards, where you get choice A or choice B, whichever one you want, depending on the situation you're in. That's Industrial Grounds. And then the last one, if we can go a little bit higher.
I'm a big fan of drawing a buttload of cards on my turn.
Same.
Yeah.
The blue one, if we go high,
yep, Undercity.
So before I describe them, there is a core mechanic behind the game that'll help me explain what they're good at. When you play cards, you have an option of either playing them vertically or horizontally. If you play them vertically, you resolve the card as is, whatever it gives you. If you play a trader vertically, it's going to give you a coin. You can play any card in your deck except for wounds, sideways though, and that generates you a movement. And movement is how that's how you get around the board.
Multi-purpose cards, and
exactly.
You're not limited by like, oh, do I have a card that has movement? Excellent. Mwah. Let me just chef's kiss that. That's great.
So segueing into Undercity, they are all about movement. If you want to generate speed from them without having to pitch your other cards, that will allow you to move around the board wherever you need to be. If you need to attack the monster or buy a certain card you fancy. They're also sneaky. They like to steal points from other players. They could even steal cards from other players.
Nice.
And they'll slow down your opponent's movement a little bit too, depending on if you pick up those cards that have the Blade Slash keyword. I have like 47 keywords in this game just to keep the game replayable and not have a card that looks like another card. You're not going to see all the cards in one game. You might see maybe like a quarter of them with the way the decks are shuffled, depending on how quick the game goes. So your replayability. So
yeah, that's a rough word. Any time of day, especially in the evening. So what's your like ideal player count, and what's your play time usually with this?
So City of Myrkesh plays up to 2 to 5 players. Ideal. When I was at Gen Con and I was doing the first exposure playtest hall with this, I had a group of 3 players. Because if you have 2 players, there's a lot of effects that refer to choose an opponent.
Right.
So you're only choosing them in a 2-player game. But if you have at least a 3-player game, then you're allowed to do a little bit of politic, and you could say, oh, I'm going to disrupt player A so that player B can catch up because they're in 3rd place. Maybe they'll remember that favor and they might help me out later.
There's definitely some games where it's disappointing, where it's like, take this from each opponent, and if there's only one opponent, and it's like, well, that card isn't near as much fun as it could be. David asked, is there any defense, like against card stealing or stuff like that?
Yes. So there is a mechanic in the game. There's a keyword called protection.
Makes sense.
Shield, and it gives you a protection token, which gives you, if anyone chooses you for an opponent's effect, you can remove a shield token and just negate it. You'll have it for 1 round. Mm-hmm. And Royal Courts is the district that specializes in the shield mechanic. There's a few other cards that have it splashed out in the other districts, but Royal Courts has a bunch of these knights, and their mechanic is the shield mechanic.
Very cool. Very cool. I like it.
That painted miniature looks wicked.
Yeah, dude.
My friend Justice is such a talented miniature painter. He's competed in the Crystal Brush at Adepticon. And
oh, wow.
He did me a huge favor, and one of the 3D print prototypes that we have, he painted up, and it's so gorgeous.
Awesome, man.
That's fantastic.
That looks incredible. That
is fantastic. Well, it looks really cool, man. I really like deck builders. It looks like you've got some unique stuff going on with it.
Yeah,
which was one of the reasons why it was like, let's have you on and talk about it, because like I said earlier, deck building is one of my favorite mechanics.
Yeah. So why in the world did you pick this topic tonight?
It was just my favorite subgenre.
It obviously is, sir. It's a great genre of games. Very excited to talk about some of these today. City of Myrkesh, guys, this looks really cool for sure.
I really hope people see all the time I put into it, and this balancing. If I made a card that costs 1, how much does a 1-cost card do? When you're balancing like a power curve of this costs 3, and it does what 3 cost worth of abilities does. Or this is a 6-cost card. Maybe there's a really huge upside, but it's balanced out by a really huge downside.
Well, sometimes the cost is the downside, right? Like, well, you got to fight to get this card. If you can get this card, great. But even then, it's still sort of limited because you've got to wait for it to come through,
Exactly.
Unless you can cull your deck down with a bunch of card draw, something to get that card to keep popping back up. But that's just, I could go like way, way deep into the reads with with deck building strategies, like with the deck building games and the strategies. But that's why I love them. I think it's because I used to be in the 90s was like a Magic the Gathering player, and then stopped playing for a couple of years, and then got back into it. And then when I first got into board games, 12, 13 years ago, deck building, a couple of deck builders that were out then, which I'll talk about one of them later, was one of my gateway games back into the hobby, and is still one of my all-time favorite games. So
I really enjoyed deck building games as a genre, just because sometimes the big TCGs like Pokemon or Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh, they have this stigma of like, your deck is as good as how big your wallet is.
Right.
And you can play really good and have the expensive cards, but in a deck building game that's in a board game, you only have your skill. All the cards are always there for anyone to get, and you can buy those cards while you're playing the game and then one-up your opponent by just having better knowledge and skill of the game.
And I will say, and I haven't played it, but one of the things that it sounds like, because one of our co-hosts, Dan, his big complaint about a lot of deck builders, he likes them, but his big complaint about them most of the time is like not always a way to like wipe the market. Like, for example, if there was only like 5 choices and you're like, oh, well, I'm stuck. I don't want to have to just buy, a heavy, you know what I mean? I don't want to have to buy a Mystic because that's all I can afford. But when you've got 10 different options to choose from, it just sounds like there's always going to be something available. And then with the way that you're not hung up just waiting around for movement cards, it also sounds like you're able to get to where you need to be, to buy those cards you can afford. So I just thought that was interesting and a nice, I don't know that it's a workaround, but just a unique way to present the market that just kind of avoids that problem, but
Yeah, there's a mechanic in my game where typically there's two sides of what strategy you're going. Are you going the money strategy? Are you going the power strategy? Or are you kind of playing both? And if you're going the power strategy, the problem you run into is if you have a bunch of cards that generate power and you're not buying any cards that generate coin, your coin production is going to be really low. So there's a mechanic for the aggro player. If they attack the monster for a certain amount of damage, they're allowed to take that district where they attacked from and shuffle those cards back into the deck. If they're really expensive and you can't afford them, shuffle them away, put 2 new ones out. Maybe there's something cheaper that comes out, and that way the aggro player still has a ability to progress the game.
I like it. And then David asked, is there solo and is there an AI?
I want to put a solo in it, but I just haven't figured out how to do it yet.
Sure.
I've seen so many people in this board game community that have really been into solo games, and this is just a recent endeavor for me. And I'm like, how do I make this solo? Where you might, maybe it's one player versus the monster, and the monster functions like with a certain AI built in with cards. Still figuring that out. I'm not against the idea. I just have to make it work.
Yeah, there's a few things you could look at for inspiration, like the Renegade. Well, now maybe it's Direwolf has an app for Clank that you can play solo, and then basically the dragon like just kills parts of the market, and it kind of and then as the cards come up, so you still have to do the thing, and there's like a win condition, and then with the dragon killing parts of the market, it's drawing up new cards, which then cause the dragon to attack. I forget if it can like deck you out, like if you run out of cards. I forget what the other stuff is because it's been a while since I messed with it, but that might be a way to look, not to say, oh, hey, this is what you should do with your game, but just stuff I've seen with deck builders.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've seen that Star Realms also did that too with a solo play where they had like a big card for the enemy, and then depending on what card got revealed in the market, the enemy would behave in a certain way.
Right. Yep. And David just said the same thing right there.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
But yeah, if anything, we're here to help. Right? I don't know.
I'll take any input.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the great thing about like board games is you can. I mean, there's a ton of games on my list that are either borrow from other games or they take some things from some games and then they add a little bit of their own seasoning here and there. You know what I mean? Or maybe they add a little bit of that game seasoning, to the pot. And that's really like now, like how the games have, evolved and I don't know, keeps them interesting, right? Like, oh, I can have games that do multiple mechanics that I absolutely love. Like, fantastic, give them to me.
Right, and I wanted to future-proof my game design a little bit. So developing the keywords in my game, which I think I have like 47 of them. With 47 of them, there's a bunch of different combinations of those keywords that can go on cards. So in future expansions, if I wanted to make a story of a character, like for an example, there's a mechanic called Revitalize, and Revitalize typically shows up on like Dryads and Tree Folk. If I wanted to build another Tree Folk or Dryad character in a future expansion, I could include that mechanic and maybe spice it up by adding like an Undercity mechanic, for example.
Oh, okay.
So with those keywords, sometimes their illustrations are more common with a certain keyword. So there's a series of these witch characters in Merchant's Row. They're just like potion vendors, but they all have the expedite mechanic. So that's a way that the illustration and the mechanics can both blend together for a good experience.
Well, that also, like, I don't know, to me, sometimes that makes the game more intuitive because it's like, oh, I see this character. My brain already knows it's going to do some form of this action here. Now, maybe it's a little different than the other one, but like, nope, this is this kind of card. So usually that's how my brain starts to work. And it's like, okay, so this is going to start to do this and I'll be ready to do this and I can combo off of that. So sounds good, man. It sounds really well thought out, it doesn't sound like you just slapped something together and, and threw it up there. It sounds like you clearly put a lot of thought into it. And I like it when you can take a style, a game that you love and go, okay, I love this game, but there's definitely some parts of this that, there's definitely some warts on this. So how do I tweak it? How do I manipulate it? How do I adjust it and really kind of evolve it into something that I think is, just like better, and not that the other one's bad, but like, how can I make this better? How can I, if we just use Ascension, for example, how do I make Ascension even better? Like, I played it so much, I see the warts. How do I tweak it and make it a game that like I really want to play all the time? And that sounds like that's what you did.
Yeah, I've heard the story that Justin, the designer of Ascension, when he was building his first game of it, he just took Dominion, but he took the cards that usually are static in the market and he just shuffled them all together and then dealt them out in a 6-card market. And that's how he was prototyping his version of the game. Me sort of taking an evolution on that formula. I wanted to take the complexity of a TCG where there's a lot of abilities and maybe there's some interesting interactions with mechanics, but give it the approachability of a board game.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. And again, if the cards basically do what they say they're going to do, and then, the rules are intuitive, I mean, easy sailing, you're ready to go.
Exactly. I am hoping people really see it and just see all the time I put into it. Every single illustration, I had built a reference board for the artist that made it. So, I come from the video game industry, and I'm a 3D artist by trade. So
okay.
When it comes to concept art and stuff, I'm not like concept artist, but I can definitely put a reference board of like, this is how I want the character to look. If they have a weapon, this is what the weapon should look like. And every single illustration had a very clean and precise reference board for the artist that was working on it.
I mean, I think obviously it helps to have a very clear vision of like what you want your game to look at. Reed, who commented earlier, he's got a game out that I love the art. I think it's amazing, but he had he commissioned different artists to do the art for his game Vigilante. And he was like, because I talked to Reed about it because I was obsessed with it. And he's like, yeah, the artwork is consistent all the way through, even though it's different artists, but he had very clear ideas on like how he wanted everything to look. And that sounds like a very similar thing that you did and went through. So that's cool. I really like that. I think that's pretty neat.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of work.
Oh, David wants to know, did the artists appreciate that or did they feel constrained?
I can see both sides of the coin. When they were working on the illustrations, we had progress updates like, oh, here's the sketch, here's the line art, here's the basic color, here's the final color. In each one of those stages, me and the artist would talk and say, do you think, and I even asked the artist in some instances where it came to like, do you think this pose looks good or does this pose look better? Because when you're concepting, you're going to make multiple iterations, A, B, C, and D, and then the art director would figure out which pose do you think would be the best for the specific type of character. So there was definitely some back and forth between me and the artists. And when it came to like designing certain outfits, I was like, what do you think? Do you think that we should use this reference or do you think we should use this reference as inspiration? And I definitely gave them some creative influence for the illustrations.
Well, I mean, it's your game. I think you should. I had a buddy, like I don't know if I've ever told this story before, Mike, like 20 years ago, my buddy and I, who was a very talented artist and graphic designer, we had entered like a comic book design contest and he was doing all the art and I was working on the story. And he like basically what I would do is kind of like describe the scene and then we would kind of like work on the storyboard together. But then it's like, Tom, you got to do all the poses. Like, you know what you can draw. I don't want to tell you to draw this because I can't draw it. I'm sure it's, heck, not going to tell you how to draw it, but you being a 3D, the artist and everything, it's probably even different for you because you probably have an even more concise picture, with being able to do like the concept art and stuff like that. But that's pretty cool. I'm sorry, I'm such a geek for process. I love hearing like how all that works. And
I love talking about it. Thanks for asking.
Hey, I want to hear about what some of your favorite video games are.
I was going to ask too. I was going to ask that.
Oh God, me and my wife, we have really been BioShock lovers for a long time.
Oh, wow.
So when that got ported to Switch, like the first, second, and Infinite, I was like, I'm getting this. And just the world building within that game, it's like inspiring. I had one of the concept books for Infinite when it first came out.
Have you ever played the BioShock board game?
No, I think that's Infinite, right?
I think
it's Infinite.
Siege of Columbus. I played that one years ago, and I'd love to play it again. It was actually a 2v2 game, and it was pretty fun.
Dang, yeah, I think I'm having like a memory of seeing that on a shelf at a convention at some point. I've never opened it, but now that you bring it up, I think I'm going to look into that.
I think I played it.
That was so long ago, like 10 years ago. I played that game once. I don't even think we finished it, but I was like, wow.
I played that game at
territory control and everything.
I played that at a Geekway to the West, and probably like 10 years ago. And I think we played it wrong, but we thought it was pretty cool. But we were also just excited to be like in the BioShock universe.
Well, can I toss the question back at you guys?
Oh yeah, I've always been kind of more RPG, action RPG, open world. So Borderlands, Fallout, plenty of the Elder Scrolls. I'm missing one. Mass Effect.
Mm-hmm.
The first Mass Effect trilogy. Oh my goodness. Just going back through and playing different sides of the story and building my character completely different every time I play back through those types of games. That's what I enjoy.
Final Fantasy VII, because I'm old. Well, actually, Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 7. Or no, is it 3? I forget. Anyways, but then the Mass Effect games, absolutely love. I only played a little bit of BioShock, but I watched my roommate play all of it and was obsessed with, just because I was like, I don't have the stress of like getting mad at it when I screw it up, and I could just watch him and like soak in the story. I was obsessed with it. But all of the Mass Effect games, and then Dead by Daylight, because I'm a horror nut, so I played a lot of the Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight. And back like 10 years ago when I had a regular crew, we would play a lot of Left 4 Dead and Modern Warfare, or Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, 3, Black Ops, stuff like that. When I don't have like a regular a group of guys, I don't like to play that game with strangers. I just want to play that game with my friends, because so many of those gamers are just dicks. I don't want to deal with them.
Welcome, Dave. I just want to say you are not old, sir. If you are, then I am, because I remember Quake LAN parties, buddy. Plenty of those.
Halo LAN parties. Yeah.
My God,
GoldenEye. God, yeah. GoldenEye. So much GoldenEye.
I almost flunked out of my freshman year at Purdue because of GoldenEye. Don't even go there.
See, you should have did what I did and just never went to college. You'd have been fine. You had all the time you wanted to play it. No, seriously, right, I'm glad you went to college.
We have, me too, because I almost flunked out my freshman year, so obviously it was worth it. All right, we've got a list to get into. Let's talk about some damn deck builders.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah. So Tim, we're on opposite sides tonight, so we're gonna let Tim start us off. Woo! Mark, you go after him, and then I'll finish us off. We are gonna start, of course, with our number 5 favorite deck builder.
Okay, so Mark, just so you know, usually my list is like arbitrary. I write down like 15 games, and then we go through and I pick the 5 I'm going to talk about, and then all the other ones are my honorable mentions. Not tonight. Tonight, because it's deck builders.
Oh, he's a loyalist now, huh?
All my deck builders are numbered. We're in order. I've got a bunch of honorable mentions. But my number 5, I did lump, because there's 3 of them that I have played out of the 4 versions of this. And I lumped them all together because it would be like picking a favorite child, and that's not fair. So my number 5 is Clank. It can be Clank. It can be Clank in Space. It can be Clank Catacombs. Right now, I kind of prefer Clank Catacombs, but honestly, if anybody walked up to me and said, let's play Clank, I'm like, yep, which one are we playing? I don't care. What map, what version, whatever. No, Andrew, no cannibalism, no stretching. Mark, last week we did food games, and almost all of my food games were where humans were the food, like aliens were eating people or monsters are eating people.
That's how arbitrary this man's lists are.
Listen, I was trying to be a smart ass because I just wanted to have fun with the list. But no, I'm very passionate about deck building games. Clank was the first deck builder that I played that had a board integrated with the deck building, and it blew me away. I became obsessed with it. I love this game. I think it's great. I look forward to every iteration. I own Clank Legacy, but haven't played it yet because I'm going to play that with a committed and dedicated group. I'm going to play that whole game all the way damn through because I love Clank so much, and I think deck building is just one of my favorite mechanics.
I ended up playing that with a friend who came over for game night one time, and it was a few hours of experience because there was a few people learning it.
Oh,
but
sure.
Just like the deck building and the bag building, and that was the first game that I really was like, oh, bag building's also a genre.
Bag building is also a genre. I could do a whole list on bag building, and Clank would sneak into that too. But just because I love Clank so much. And yeah, thank you, David, for not giving up hope. The night is early. Cannibalism is still possible. But I absolutely love Clank. I think there's a couple different valid strategies. My only knock on Clank is that it's hard to cull your deck. There's not a lot of cards that thin your deck out. But I just look at that as like, well, that's just an additional challenge to the game. So sometimes the challenges there force you to be more creative with your strategies. But big fan of all the Clanks. I love them. That is my number 5. Mark, what's your number 5?
Oh, it's hard to get these in an order which I'm like appealing to them less as we go on.
We're taking notes and we're holding you to them. I'm just kidding. You're fine.
We make last minute adjustments all the time.
All the time. You're good.
It's really just constant hotness is really what it is.
Because I have Clank on my list too. I didn't put Clank at 5. I think 5 has to be Shards of Infinity.
Ooh,
you guys are familiar.
I absolutely love Shards of Infinity. I bet you Mike's going to talk about it later, and it is one of my honorable mentions. That's how good my top 5 is. Shards of Infinity is so good. Mark, please talk about it.
It was one of Justin's other projects he worked on, and he had a couple expansions come out over the time. And he recently had a Kickstarter where he was like, this is everything for Shards of Infinity if you just want it in one package. And that formula where he kind of made his own sci-fi universe around these like 4 factions, it was interesting. I played it on mobile too. But one of the mechanics that like kind of
there's a mobile app. Hold on,
I think there's a mobile app. I'm pretty sure I played it on mobile a few times.
I'm going to get no work done if there's a mobile app because that's all I'm going to do is play Shards. Oh my God, I love Shards of Infinity so much. Please continue. I'm sorry.
What? It's free even.
What?
Oh, this is a revelation, Mark. I'm all wow. Anyway, I'm sorry. Thank you for that nugget. Please continue with this amazing game.
I am listening while I go and download Shards of Infinity on my iPad.
There's 2 mechanics from that game that I just really enjoyed, and that was like the mercenary mechanic, where if there was a card that was denoted as mercenary and you bought it, you could choose to recruit it and have it be played immediately, or you could put it in your deck. Or if you had it played immediately, it would just be played once and then it was gone and it was just banished. Yep, and if you bought it, you can put it in your deck and use it for later. And then the other mechanic, I forget what they call it. I think Mastery, where if you build up Mastery, your other cards that have Mastery payoffs get stronger. If you have 10 Mastery, this card gains power, and then you doubles your power. And just that like level up mechanic within the deck building game was just super cool.
So ask Mike about what it's like to get a Mastery victory.
That's what happened the last time Tim and I played.
Mike and I were just getting to know each other. Like, we didn't know each other super well. We both realized we love Shards of Infinity. We were at my sister's for like a game weekend. And I believe I think we were at Julia's for a game weekend. We busted out Shards because we had some time.
We were at your house for your birthday last year.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay. But we busted out Shards and we played it. And I got up to 20 Mastery, dropped that infinite damage card on Mike. And he's like, I've never seen anybody get that so fast. And
it was the fastest game of Shards I've ever played.
Oh, it was a crowning achievement in my life. It's like my children were born. I married my wife, destroying Mike in Shards of Infinity. It's like in the top 5. It was so good.
I wasn't expecting a segue story from this. That's awesome.
We go off the rails real quick with the segue stories. No, I love that Shards is on your.
Tim. I'm playing Shards on mobile.
I'm mad at you because it's $8 for me to download the app. So I got.
Hey, Android for the win.
But I will get it because I love Shards, man. Great pick, man. I love your number 5. That's good. What a good pick.
What's your number 5, Mike?
Well, I've got a quandary now. I'll just lay it out there
because Shards is your number 1. Oh,
Shards is my number 2, sir. I absolutely love Shards of Infinity. I've played this game. I've got 21 plays logged, as you can see on the screen there. I love the fact that this is Battle Royale, the deck builder. I love the fact that, as you said, you can increase how good your cards are. You're leveling them up as your mastery goes up. And that's its own strategy, is the mastery strategy. It's got the card pulling. It's got a healing strategy. I love the red faction they added in too, where they work off of the mercenary ability, which is where you can instantly do an ability off the market cards. But I think the red faction lets you instantly do the ability and add the card to your deck, which no other cards do. Yeah, I've even played the little mini campaign co-op expansion that they have. I've played Shards so much. I absolutely love this game. It is my number 2 deck builder.
Well, not anymore. You're talking about it now. You either gotta. So are you gonna leave it at 2? Are you gonna leave it at 2 and just
I'll
buzz
make
through?
It my number 5, and I'll switch some things. So,
well, now that now let me channel Dan and go. Now your list is arbitrary. Your list doesn't even matter because it's. Not
look, I give it an 8.5. There you go. You even get my BGG ranking on it. You know,
that's legit, man.
I think it's an amazing game, dude. It's a great pick. This game, the only thing is I don't necessarily like it at 4. It drags a bit at 4.
I like it at 2 and 3.
3 and under is where it really shines. Now, if you got experienced players at 4, okay, sure. I've just never had that capability. But it just goes a little long at 4 if you don't. But man, I freaking love this game so much. Yeah, now it's basically out of print. So that Kickstarter was everything in a box. You got to get it on secondary to even pick this one up. But huge fan, great pick, Mark. Yeah, I love this one. All right. I guess we have to go back to Tim and hear him ramble on now.
Yeah.
What's your number 4, Tim?
All right, number 4.
Oh my gosh, my number 4, and I'm almost embarrassed that it's as low as a 4, because this is one of my favorite designers recently, and this is a game where we talked about how you've got games that like add all these different mechanics together and it works really well. This has got dice drafting, this has got tableau building, and deck building, and that is Taverns of Tiefenthal by Wolfgang Warsch.
I knew this was coming.
It's sort of a sneaky deck builder. And Mike, this just tells you like how much I love my list, because Clank and Taverns are this low on this list. Now look,
I can't believe Taverns is above the Clanks. I'm shocked.
I love Taverns of Tiefenthal. That is a game, again, all these games at the drop of a hat. If somebody says, Tim, you want to play this? Yes. There's no like who's playing, how long do we have? No. We're playing, yeah, you want to play Taverns? It's one of my all-time favorites. I like it better than Quacks, and I think I love Quacks. Don't get me wrong, but Taverns of Tiefenthal is even better. I love the way that the deck building works, and you add those cards right to the top of your deck. It's so satisfying. You're able to cull cards out of your deck, you know what I mean, with the schnapps and being able to do stuff like that. But this game does so many really interesting things. It's very... It is very accessible with actually kind of being like almost a light middleweight game, but you can kind of disguise it as a gateway game. So you can get a lot of people to play this game without even realizing that they're grasping all these heavier concepts, and setting them up for like really pulling them into the hobby. And the combinations you can pull off are really cool. And this is just a really neat game. I love all the modules and how it adds to the replayability. The expansion, Open Doors, is really good. Again, just a bunch of modules, that it gives you the options of using. Now Open Doors is a little different because I think it's like 4 modules, but they only recommend you use like 2 of them at a time. But it does do some pretty cool stuff. And it's just one of my all-time favorite games. I absolutely love Taverns. It's funny because Bob and I, we tell this story all the time. Bob and I played Taverns at my sister's. It wasn't out in the US yet. Julia had a copy from Germany, and then Bob went and ordered one like off of BGG from Germany. And by the time it had arrived, because I had reached out to our local game store where we film our show at now, and was like, hey, if you can get this game in, I will buy a copy immediately. And it's a really good game. I think you should bring it into your store. He brought it into the store, and I got my copy the same week Bob got his, but I didn't have to pay shipping from Germany.
I'm completely new to this title, but you're selling me.
It's got dice drafting.
Yeah,
it's really cool. There's a lot of fun mechanics in there. Basically, you're running a tavern. And so what's going to happen is the cards you've got have a die value on them. So the dice you draft, you're going to roll your die. You're going to pick 4 of them. You're going to pick one, and then you're going to draft. You're going to end up with 4 of them, maybe some extras depending on cards you get. And then you're going to assign those die to either like patrons that show up and they're going to generate money, or maybe you're going to produce beer. And so you use beer to like, buy different things, and you can use the money, the gold, to upgrade your tavern. You use beer to bring in other guests, but you use the money also to hire workers, which then goes to the deck building aspect of it. It's very cool. It does a lot of really neat things. Yeah, I strongly recommend it, Mark. I would say try it out, see if you like it, and if you like it. For me, it was it wasn't a blind buy because I played it first, but then I was like, I immediately must own this game. And the nice thing is my wife, who is a very light, casual gamer, she will play Taverns all the time. She understands it. She has a good time with it. And my in-laws all play it. And the modular player boards are really cool because your player board is your tavern. And when you upgrade it, you flip it over, and then it gives you like a better version of the actions that you can do when you assign your dice to it. And the deck building is very satisfying. There's lots of really cool combos. I could go on about Taverns for ages. It's one of my all-time favorite games.
I don't even know if you mentioned it was the first deck builder I'd seen where when you buy a card, it goes on top.
Yeah.
Oh.
Top of the deck. Yeah.
I don't know who Facebook user is, but yes, I know Mark too. And we like Mark. Oh, wait, maybe that's you, Mark. Mark, that might be you. I was thinking of Mark, the game store owner. But yeah. Hey, Mark, somebody out there knows you.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, great pick, Tim. It's a really good one.
Yeah, David, I was a bartender, but Taverns is way more fun than bartending. It doesn't pay as well, but it's way more fun. All right, Mark, what's your number 4?
Cubitos. I see 2 different expressions here.
No, wait. Is that a deck builder?
Am I allowed to cheat a little bit? And it's like a deck builder, but with your cards or dice instead.
Yes.
Mark, it's you. You are our guest. You're allowed to do whatever you want because, again, with the people giving me a hard time about my list last week, fully deserved, about all the stretching, you are totally allowed. I finally played Cubitos for the first time. And spoiler alert, it's one of this man's favorite games.
No, you be quiet. You let this man talk about Cubitos.
Go for it, Mark. Tell us about Cubitos.
Oh, man. When I first watched Shut Up and Sit Down talk about it, and like, I never blind buy my games anymore. I'll usually watch a review or two, and I'm like, okay, now I'm sold. I want this game.
Who was it?
And shut up and sit down.
Okay. They sell me on every game. Go on.
Yeah, they're so good. Yeah. They're so good. Yeah.
And this is only a 2-resource economy deck building game. You either have money or you have movement. But you start this game with like a pool of dice that are really bad dice. There's like all the sides are blank except for one, and that one side will give you a coin. And then there's 2 dice that are slightly better in that pool. And you have to take all these dice and shuffle them. And there is a push or luck mechanic that I have died from in this game because of how many times I pushed and I broke. My wife is extremely good for rolling dice for some reason, and she can always get like, all of her dice have a side on them. There's no blanks.
Good for her.
I get all of my rolls, you know? Oh, Jack. Oh, hello.
Very cool. Well, hey, Jack, thanks for popping in and commenting. So your wife, amazing roller. I'm going to guess that you don't have that good a luck. At least not as good as hers.
No, it's not luck, Tim. It's dice rolling ability.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a skill you can train, you know?
Have you tried switching hands? Because sometimes when I roll poorly, I'm like, oh, these must be left-handed dice. And then I change.
Have you tried blowing on them?
Well, there's I bought some foldable dice trays for this game, so when I have it out, everyone's got their own little bowl that they can roll their dice in. And sometimes my wife will be like, I'm not going to use a bowl. That's what makes my dice bad. And then she just rolls them on the table, and then she's fine.
So let me tell you something really quick, Mark. I like this game so much that it immediately is on like my to buy list. And I just literally played it Saturday, and I'm like, I got to get this game. Yes. But I kind of knew I was going to like it because I like this kind of game. But anyways, please.
Well, so the reason is, Mark, this is a great pick. I stuck exclusively to deck builders, but on BGG, like they include dice, deck, and pool builders all in one mechanic. So, like, hey, as fluid as our lists are, I'm not going to give you crap for this at all, because this is one of my all-time favorite games, man. I love Cubitos. I just discovered it last year, and I don't like to play games so much that I wear them out. So I like the fact that with our channel, we get to play a lot of different stuff. I like to shake it up and not wear games out. Played Cubitos 24 times last year, and I freaking love this game. I just love the combos that you can. I mean, Tim will tell you, he's like, oh, Mike's about halfway around the racetrack. Oh, things are fine. He's that dog in the fire gif or meme, and he's like, this seems fine.
I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Mike's got one of the purple dice, which is the biggest one that gives you movement. It gave me one movement for one for every different color I had, and I already had every other color of dice, and and then it was 17 movement on one. I started halfway mark and went like all the way around past the finish line by 3 spaces. I just love how you just keep rolling, and if you got shields, you can prevent a bust, and then just keep rolling more. Next thing, and you can increase your draw limit. You can get it up to 13, 14 sometimes. You're rolling all these dice over and over and over, and then
feels so good
activating with this cascading effect. Oh, this one makes me roll 2 more immediately. Let me roll those. Oh, I busted. Wait, I got a shield to discard. Keep rolling. This one's gonna let me move 3. This one's gonna let me get rid of stuff out of my pool. It has everything that a deck builder has, but it's also rolling dice, which I personally prefer over drawing cards. And it's also racing, which is one of my favorite mechanics. Cubitos is a home run for me.
Let me just say 2 things real quick. Despite getting absolutely dusted by Mike when we played this game, bad teacher warned Mike.
I never do that to anybody in any game.
But
like that never happens.
Despite getting dusted by him, I really love the game and the different things that it kind of brought in. It reminds me of some other games that I really like Quacks of Quedlinburg, which is also designed by Wolfgang Warsch, who did Taverns of Tiefenthal. But it reminds me of Quarriors, which I really like. I forget who designed Quarriors, but I like Warriors as well. But this game just does so many very cool things. I really enjoy it. And this is the opposite of a game that we just reviewed. The video is going to come out soon where I described it as a feel bad game. Cubitos is a feel good game because you're like constantly getting to roll all these dice. You're building up your die pool and you're pulling off some of these fun combos. Great pick. I love it. I'm not going to say boo about it. Cubitos is really good. Enjoy it quite a bit.
There's so much to that. Just one more thing before we jump into Mike's top four.
Go for it.
There's a part of Cubitos that I don't really explore, and that's the each dice has like 6 versions of what it can do and the different modes of play. I'd always keep it as the simple one. Just I've never really delved into the complexity of like, am I going to make Cubitos a heavy Euro game that involves me keeping track of like different symbols on different other symbols, or do I just keep it the base experience? I literally they have these cards that tell you what the dice do. And I have printed a sheet, like 2x8 sheet of all the cards. I just give it to every player, and I'm like, "Here's the shop. If you want these dice, here's the paper you can look at and see how much they cost."
Hey, and that's the nice thing about a game like Cubitos is you can just play it the way you want. You find the combination of stuff you like. Like I do that with Quacks. Like Quacks has a similar mechanic where these chips. Because it's a bag building game instead of a dice building game, right? Where you are not a dice building, but a pool building game, right? Where the chips will do different things depending on the cards you decide to use that tell you what they do. And there's definitely preferred, like, I like this version better. We have more fun doing it this way. And I've never thought about putting all of those things just on one sheet and passing them out. That's a brilliant idea. I love that.
Yeah, sometimes the text on the cards is just so small, and if it's something that every player is going to be interacting with it at one time on their turn, they're going to want to have that information right in front of them. So while maybe player A is doing their turn for moving and then buying their cards, then player B having the sheet can plan that in advance. So they're like, "Oh, I want to get rock on dice, the green dice with the shield on it."
Mm-hmm.
So I know what I want to do on my turn when I'm waiting.
Hell yeah, man. I'm all about it. That's great. We love good player aids. So, I mean, that speeds up the teach. That speeds up gameplay for everybody. And then everybody has like the same information. And there's not like, oh, I didn't know that die did that. I would have bought that, 3 turns ago had I known. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of just remove all of that. That's a great idea. I like that.
What's your top 4, Mike?
Man, I just got to scrap my whole list and put Cubitos as number 1. No, I'm not going to.
Lists are arbitrary.
I know. John D. Clare became one of my favorite designers because of Cubitos. So this was originally my number 4. So we're going to stick to John D. Clare games. This is another one I've actually only played digital. I've only played the Steam version of this year. But I've played that Steam version of this game probably 50, 60 times easily. And that is Mystic Vale.
Oh, that's on my list too.
Man, nice. Mystic Vale, really good.
Well, I scrolled further down your Kickstarter campaign and I saw Mystic Vale on that influence part underneath your picture there. So I'm like, there's probably going to be some crossover with this one. But this one is so, it's so unique in that you draw cards until you stop, which you want to do before you hit 3 spoils, because if you spoil, you don't get to draw anything. Your hand's a bust.
It gives you that push your luck mechanic.
Yes, it's push your luck in deck building, which we just talked about why I love push your luck. And I
card crafting.
Told you,
yeah,
and I just told you,
the
card crafting and just being able to like eliminate spoils and then draw your entire deck on one turn feels so good. Mystic Vale will let you throw out 20 plus cards in a hand, and I just love being able to dump my whole hand on the table when I'm playing a deck builder. The card crafting is genius. Mystic Vale is really good. I just need a physical copy now.
I'm really mad. I had a copy of Mystic Vale, and somebody offered me more money than it was worth, and I sold it. And I've been wishing I still had it ever since.
Yeah, Mystic Vale is another one of those 2 resource economy games where you have either the mana or the spirit symbols.
Mm-hmm.
And you can definitely go towards a strategy where you're like trying to get a ton of mana to add more advancements into your cards. Or if you are getting the Veil cards that give you victory points at the end of the game and you need like the animal, sky, or forest spirit symbols, you could go in that strategy too. And it has that like, it's one of those deck building games where I don't think there's like much player interaction between like I'm disrupting you, you're disrupting me. It's more of like who built the more efficient engine.
Yeah, sure. It is a little bit of that. So I think if people have a problem with that, like that's not going to appeal to them. But I think Mystic Vale is really cool. It's the first card crafting game I ever saw, and it blew me away when it came out. I'm like, what? You do what?
I think John D. Clare is the card crafting like creator. I would almost say with all the games he's done with that mechanic now.
I have Edge of Darkness, but I have yet to play it.
I still need to get a copy of that.
Dude, we got to play that. Just let me learn it, Tim. I'll get back to you in a couple of weeks.
You got it, dude.
Yeah, we're big John D. Clare fans. Mystic Vale blew me away. I've only played the Steam version. I want to get that complete edition which has everything in it.
Now, he might have designed 1 or 2 games that I really don't like. One for sure. I think he designed the other one as well that I really don't like. But other than those 2.
Tim is not a Space Base fan. I think it's pretty good.
Did he do Space Base?
Yes.
I'd rather play Machikoro.
And we just reviewed Empire's End, and Tim and I did not like that one that much.
Did not.
I have a copy of Machikoro on my shelf too.
I love Machikoro. I mean, is it gonna win any Mensa awards? No. But I just really like it. The teaching it is very easy. It's very accessible. Everybody's doing something kind of on every turn. It's fun.
Yeah, having a lower barrier to entry is totally fine.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's get to these number 3s.
All right, so my number 3 is almost a system, but I made sure I drilled in and I picked one. Because there's other variations of the system and they would very easily be honorable mentions. But I cannot do a list about deck builders if I don't have Marvel Legendary on there. Now, I will tell you, the Legendary Encounter system, I played the Predator and the Aliens because those are the ones that have appealed to me, and I enjoyed those immensely. I also own those. I have most of the stuff for Marvel Legendary. It is a flawed game. You can lose very quickly for the setup, but to me, that just means set it up and let's play again. Let's do better. It is semi-cooperative. This is a game that I have played in like tournaments with prize support and done pretty well. My wife actually does well with this game too. She likes it. But the variety of the heroes and the fun combinations of the heroes, if you're a comic book geek, kind of like I am, there's some appeal there. There is, like we talked about, the repetitiveness of the art. Like if you're playing the base game and you like all the Spider-Man cards look the same except for the colored border, like as far as like what kind of extra abilities or different things it's going to do, but it's the same Spidey, flipping the web out. The Iron Man cards all look the same. But Marvel Legendary is a deck building game because you're buying from the market. You're adding these different heroes to your deck. You're doing all these different things. And then again, you kind of have the board, but I don't think of it like Clank because the board just really has the spaces where the villains are moving or as they get pushed down the line. And you are trying to like knock them out to prevent them from escaping the city. But then you're going to you're going to draw mastermind cards, which are going to trigger the arch nemesis, like the super villain's ability. And then you've got to deal with that. And then you've got, when the villains escape the city, they trigger a thing. And so it's a very difficult, you can play it co-op, you can play it semi-cooperative where you have you count the victory points that are on the bottoms of the cards. Just a game I enjoy, tons of different combinations. This has been one where it's like, oh, we were getting our asses kicked by Galactus, and we tried to use this combination of heroes, and it's like, you know what? We're going to win with the Fantastic Four. We're going to play as the Fantastic Four, and we're going to beat Galactus. We're going to find a way, because that should work, right? That's their natural villain, via the comic books. And so it's really fun to try to do that. And I enjoy those challenges. Not for everybody, but I have actually won promotional cards for this game. I got a play mat for it that's pretty cool that I won in a tournament. I just love this game. I think it's really good. I enjoy like the Legendary Encounters versions. I'd love to play the Bond one because I love 007. I wanted to play the Firefly one, but the art is so notoriously bad. I'm just waiting for like a stupid cheap copy of that to come across my doorstep, and then I'll buy it. But I just really enjoy the system and everything. It takes a lot of setup, and there's a lot of teardown, but I have a ton of stuff for Marvel Legendary. I enjoy it quite a bit. Again, we'll play it at the drop of a hat. I've got all of my heroes in my main box, like alphabetized with little index cards that I've cut out and printed out little like names so we can like file through and find who we need really quickly. Be like, oh, which Captain America do you want? You want this version or this version? Which Spider-Man do you want? I have loved playing this where I grab as many versions of the different Spider-Mans that I can. And play. I like finding like the different X-Men or like picking different teams. There's so many different ways you can customize this and play it. I find it very enjoyable. And not for everybody, but I would say that I love Legendary, and then I lump in Legendary Encounters because I feel like that's a really good way to bring in people that are fans of other IPs, different IPs, and bring them in and get them interested in a pretty fun and challenging cooperative deck builder. So, Marvel Legendary.
Was Legendary the resource economy where it had only a single resource? I think it was like fight power, but you could use that power to buy cards or to attack the villain.
2 resources. You had fight and you had power. So kind of like Ascension, like OG Ascension, right? You had combat, which you could use then to fight the villains, or you had power or the currency, so you could buy cards. I forget what the proper names for that were, but yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to go too much into my number 3, but mine's going to be Mystic Veil.
Oh, good pick, clearly. But why? Just kidding. No, we know Mystic Veil's great. And yeah, solid pick. I love it.
Do you have any expansions that you like more than others?
I only have 2 expansions for Mystic Veil. The first one, I think, was Mystic Veil, Veil of Magic. And then the second one, I can't remember the name of it, but it introduces that mechanic where you have like the unique characters you can slide into your deck, and they also have like the negative victory point tokens as well. I forget the name of that one, but
okay.
I do enjoy Veil of Magic. I liked seeing all the mechanical enhancements throughout the expansions, and just now you can flip over your mana token. That's a mechanic, or double your resources, or hey, you get a bunch of spirit symbols, and the complex. It's not like complexity creep. It's just like interesting complexity progression.
Mm-hmm. Well, clearly that's a great pick because it's on Mike's list and it was on my honorable mentions.
So. It's sad. I don't have any physical. I don't log BGA or Steam plays or anything. I got to pick up this game is what it comes down to.
I just remember when Mystic Veil came out, it blew my brains out. I was so amazed at like, how do you have a card crafting game? Like, this is crazy.
I know, and he's made like several others now, and even his most simplest one, Custom Heroes, I enjoy. It's like a card shedding game, kind of like Scout, but you're also it's like trick taking in reverse. Yeah. Where trick you're trying to go out first. You're trying to go out first.
Trick taking Uno, but at the same time, the cards that you're improving are carried on into later rounds. So you have to be careful because other people may end up with those cards and those super powerful abilities. It's really interesting. Yeah.
There's like 4 different slots on each card to improve them. If you're a Mystic Vale fan, Mark, you should look into Custom Heroes if you haven't played that one.
I'm totally going to look into that. I have not played it.
Cheap little card game.
See,
it was really fun. I like it a lot.
That's the beauty of these lists where it's like, I've never heard of that. I'm going to look at that. That sounds good. Dude, I'm going to check it out.
I played that one at a JuliaCon, Tim, your sister's gaming convention. Darcy brought that one out. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll play a John DeClaire card crafting game. Are you kidding me? I've been wanting to buy this one ever since, and I just haven't.
I'm going to tell you, rolling with that game group is bad for your wallet, dude. They're going to show you a lot of good games. You're going to be like, oh, dang it.
He's not lying. He's not lying.
A lot of good games.
My number 3. This list is kind of gotten shooken up now. I guess Tim's got it as an honorable mention. I don't know. I thought this might make his list. This is hotness, Tim. You know what I'm talking about.
It's my number 6, Mike. It's
okay, I'm glad. Okay, good. I get to talk about it. All right, this is a new game from Pandasaurus. It's called After Us.
Oh my god.
After Us. This game is so good. Okay. I don't think there's enough love on this game right now. This game is growing on me so fast. I cannot get enough of this on BGA right now. So it's got Vincent Dutrait art. So here's what's so unique about this game. Let me just find. No, come on. Give me the basic, like your hand laid out is what I'm looking for.
Oh, do you want me to just grab my copy off the shelf right over
here?
I love this game so much.
It. Don't make me pull up a BGA game. I'm sure I have an active one. I know. Okay, so let's just look at these 4 cards here. What you're going to do on your turn is you start with 8 basic cards, and you draw 4, you plop 4 of them on the table, and you align them in any way that you want. Those cards have these blocks on them, or these squares, and you're going to try to create frames by lining the cards up with each other. There's going to be 3 different rows that you can line up, and whatever you line up is a resource that you get to gain. Those resources allow you to buy better cards, pull cards out of your deck, score points, and it's unlike any deck builder I have ever seen. So yeah, Tim's got us hooked up here. Let me go solo mode on Tim. He's got his basic cards there because I couldn't find a good picture. You line up these frames.
Yeah.
And
that's a bad lineup.
That was a terrible lineup. So you can lay these cards out however you want. Oh, there you go. There's a frame, Tim. So there's all right, he would get a black and a blue. And then he would not get the battery because it's not got a completed frame. He'd get that orange. If he had 3 different cards, he'd get a black. If he completed the frame with that blue, he'd get, there you go. He could arrange it that way and get to blue.
Yeah.
That is such an interesting idea.
It is such a cool concept, and you're doing this simultaneously, so there's no downtime. So as you're doing that,
obsessed with this game.
I cannot get enough. This is my most played game on BGA right now, and I just can't get enough of it. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. That's why I can't stop talking about it. So you lay those out. You take those resources. You need 3 of one type of resource to buy a non-starter card. All right. Well, those get laid out in 4 different types, and there's level 1s and level 2s. It takes 3 of one resource to buy a level 1. It takes 6 of one resource to buy a level 2. All right, we got Andrew playing it. My man.
Yeah. I need to play this with Andrew on BGA. This game's so damn good.
Yeah, then you pick a token. The token determines what type of card you can buy. But you can also spend resources to copy the effect of other people's tokens. And then first person to 80 triggers end of game. And then highest above 80 wins. After Us is awesome, guys. If you have not checked this game out,
this is in danger of being my game of the year.
Dude, it is really, really good. This is one for you, Mark. If you haven't checked this one out, it is a very fresh and unique take on deck building, and it is really good.
When you're putting cards adjacent to each other, can you like have one card in a higher position so you align the boxes up in a certain way?
Nope, it's just those three rows, and you got to line them up. So yeah, they have to sit next to each other as you see them. But yeah, it's got a mechanic to call the cards out of your deck. And then, you start by saving your resources so you can get cards, but later in the game, you're spending more of your resources for points. Oh, it's got that really good flow to it, like a good deck builder should, where you start by, gaining cards, and then later you're trying to, push for in-game and points. And filling your deck, man, really, really good game.
Now let's get into the nitpicks real quick, Mike, because we talked about this earlier. The worst thing about this game, and I don't even care because it looks so good, is that it does repeat the art. The art between the cards repeats depending on the level of card you get. Sure. But it looks so damn good. I don't even care. And I have so much fun playing this game. And it doesn't even matter to me.
Vincent Dutrait. So stop.
Yeah, Vincent Dutrait art is amazing. Yeah, each ape specializes in different things.
It's crazy how much symbols there are. And like the text is just on the reminder card. But then all the cards you use in your deck, they just have symbols and numbers. That's it.
Yeah, Mark,
simplest game too. You can learn this game in a minute. It is very simple.
You would be shocked at how intuitive this game is. The hardest part of this game is learning what the extra cards do, like the battery ones that give you the extra abilities. That's the hardest part of this game, is just figuring out what if you spend those 5 batteries or 3 batteries, what does that give you? That's the hardest part. Everything else in this game is so easy, and it's really good. And Andrew, I will not quit monkeying around. I love this game.
The way they do this one, I also like how everything in this game eliminates downtime, because you're arranging your cards simultaneously, and then once that you got them laid out, you can go ahead and start gathering your resources, and then you're going to pick that token. And once everybody else has picked their token, then everybody reveals it. But all of the cards, there's no available market to look at. All of the cards are actually face down. You can only buy one per turn, and it goes on the top of your deck. So again, you get access to that card immediately.
And they have the frames all line up differently. So like different cards will specialize in different things, so it'll be stronger, giving you maybe certain resources or different kinds of things. But they're still different in the way that they're laid out. And this game is just this was again a game like kind of like Cubitos, where I played it and it's like, I have to buy this game. And I was fortunate enough, the first time I played this game, I was in a position to be able to just go immediately and buy it, which is what I did. This is one of my favorite new games of the year. This is probably one of my favorite new to me games, not to spoil my list when we do that one. But it is 1,000,000% in the top 5. I doubt that there's 4 other games I'm going to discover this year that are going to pop it out. This game is it's badass. It's super fun. It's very easy. Like Mike said, super easy to teach. It's my number 6. The only reason it's my 6 and not actually on my list, Mike, is these other games I've literally been playing for years, and I love them.
I get it. I am just like I said, these lists a lot of times are personal hotness, and I cannot get enough of this game right now. But yeah, it's like, okay, here you can gain, 2 orange, and then you can turn your 2 orange in for 3 points. Light bulbs as points. Or turn a battery in for 2 points. Or spend 2 blue to use any of these frames again. Oh, you got extra orange? Sweet. Spend 2 blue, and then that allows you to spend your 2 orange to get 3 more points.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the combos you can create in this game are just fascinating.
Even kind of when you have a bummer draw, it's like not amazing. You still feel like you're getting a ton of resources. So it
I got this. Yeah.
It always feels good. You almost always feel like you can do something. So that's the nice thing about this game. I have had games of this where I've felt like I was behind and then was able to sort of have a good round or two, and I'm right back in it. I'm being competitive. So I feel like you can really like spread out your choices in the game. I mean, I brought that up when we were talking about City of Myrkesh, right? Like, do you have to hyper focus or can you spread out? And I like sometimes being able to try out the different mechanics the first couple times I play it and kind of feel it out and see what feels good and what I like. And this game really allows you to do that and still feel like you have a chance of winning. And I've seen people hyper focus and win, and I've seen people hyper focus and lose. So it's really kind of cool. Like I appreciate all the variety in it. And we're going to add.
I'll add one other fresh mechanic in this game I have not seen in a game. The rage mechanic is what they call it when you cull cards out of your deck. That's this little red gorilla face. When you cull a card out of your deck, you actually get a resource.
Oh, yeah, that's even better.
I've not seen a game do that.
I have at my number 2.
See, the dead cards in my game, the ones that go in your deck when you fight the monster, there's 3 different types of wounds, and one of the types is a light wound. And there's a keyword on there called heal, where you're allowed to remove cards from your deck, and depending on what card you remove, you'll get a resource corresponding to it.
Oh, look at that. Mark's ahead of the curve, and he didn't even know it. Well done, sir. Nice. Well done. Nice. He identified a problem. And worked on it. Good for you, man.
I had a player in my game that never saw the advantage to like removing cards from your deck. They just refused to do it. And I'm like, okay, that's a play style you can do, but I'm going to incentivize people to do it by, maybe you're going to get an extra resource from removing this nomad and removing the soldier.
So no offense to that player, but that totally baffles me because I have yet to play a deck builder where I don't want to remove cards from my deck. Every starting card, I want to get the hell out of my deck unless there's like a victory point condition for the starting cards in my deck. Otherwise, I'm like, get them out. Get them out. Every other card I'm going to buy is going to be better than this card. But that's funny. And good for that person, right? Because he steered you in a direction to incentivize that. So, you again now are coming out with a mechanic that is relatively new and that we haven't seen in any other deck builder other than one that we absolutely love.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
So fantastic. Kudos to that player. And good for you to see that and identify that. So, yeah.
All right, Tim, let's hear your number 2.
So my number 2, I
sold Reed on After Us.
Yeah, hell yeah. Reed, come on, buddy. Like Reed, you know us. We're not going to lead you astray, Reed. No, my number 2 is a game that I'm really trying hard to trade for right now. I'm waiting for this person to respond to me on BGG. I think they want to trade me. And I will say, I'll put this out there. If anybody wants to offload their copy. No, this is the only game on my list, not in my collection. Wow. I am obsessed with this game. Mike, you and I have played this game together. I did beat you at it and everybody else we played with. This is a game that also incentivizes culling cards, and this is the first one that did it. And that is Tyrants of the Underdark. Because the cards you cull, and when you cull them, they then become victory points. And that's how you score them. Which is such a cool mechanic. And there's also a board with like some territory control stuff to it. And I really, really, really love Tyrants of the Underdark. I could give a crap about the Dritz lore and all that stuff. I know that that's the reason this game exists and that people love the D&D theme around this. This could be themed anything for me. I don't care. I played D&D. I was never into Dritz, whatever. I get it. He's cool. He's awesome. Good for him. But I love this game. I'm trying to get a hold of a first edition specifically because that's the version I want. And I'm very close. I'm waiting for them to respond to me. They were checking on the contents of their game to make sure it was complete. So fingers crossed. But if anybody reaches out and says, hey, I've got a Tyrants of the Underdark I don't want anymore, get on my BGG, take a look at my list. I will trade you about anything for it because I really want this game in my collection. But Tyrants of the Underdark has an area control aspect, a deck building aspect that I really like. And I love the timing of when you cull your cards, because the powerful cards that you cull in this game, kind of like After Us, they're worth more points. So it's like, if I can use this card like 2 times and then I can get rid of it and stash it for points, perfect. Mike, we played this after our most epic game of Ankh ever, right? We played this crazy game of Ankh, and then we played After Us, and I played it with people I've never played this game with before. And just I don't know why, but for some reason I'm good at this game. I beat Bob at this game and he was very confused. Like, Bob's like, how did you beat me at this? This is just one of those games that for whatever reason my brain figures out. I love this game. I think it's great. And I really like the sort of twist on the deck building and the timing of when you bank those cards. They're out of my deck. They're now going to be victory points. I think that's really cool. I really like the territory control of it. I think that's great. There's just so many things that this game does that I really enjoy. And I don't think enough people know about this game. I completely overlooked this game, paid it no mind. Bobby brought it over to my house. We played it. And I was like, holy crap, this game's amazing. And then Mike and I had the opportunity to play it. I'm like, I'm down 1,000,000%. And I don't remember, had you played it before, Mike, when we played it that one time?
No, that's the only time I've played it.
Andrew, first edition is the edition I want. I want first edition.
Yeah, the reason is because
they changed the art, like, right?
No, and these plastic bits.
Yes, that's what it is.
First edition has plastic bits. Second edition only has cardboard, but it includes the expansion in the box.
Right. So I will trade for first edition without even the expansion. I just want first edition so bad. But this is a game I love. The art's great. It's fun. I really enjoy it. And yeah, I knew nothing about. Bobby brought it over. We played it, and I was like, this game's incredible. And then Mike and I got to play it again, and I was like, I still just love this damn game. I've been trying to get my hands on it without overreaching. I mean, that's kind of how I am with a lot of games anymore that I want. It's like, well, I want it, but the timing's got to be right. And it doesn't do anything other than the like banking your cards
control.
Other than like culling your cards for victory points and like the timing of that, and then the territory control. It's not like it breaks the mold with deck builders, but it just does enough that's different that I really like. And for whatever reason, it just clicks with me. And that's why Tyrants of the Underdark has got to be my number 2. It's the only, rarely do I have games on my list that I don't own. Mike, I don't know if you've noticed that. Usually,
I do. Yes.
Usually, if it's a game that I'm like that obsessed with that I'm going to put on a list, it's like, you know what? I got to get it. I got to find a way, any cost, get it to me right now. Tyrants is the one that I don't own that's on my list, and I love this freaking game. I think it's great. I think if you don't care about D&D themes, this is still a really good game, because again, this is a game as a D&D player. I don't care about the theme. I really like the game. I like what it does. I like how it plays. If you are into D&D or you love Dritz, this is a must. Like, I just think this is a really good game, and you should have it in your collection. So I'll get off my soapbox. I went nuts about Tyrants of the Underdark for too long. But that's how I feel about it. I barely have any strong feelings about it, if you could tell.
Yeah, it was on my radar a few weeks ago. I completely disregarded it, and I'm like, now that you bring it back up and you're selling it again, I'm adding it to my list.
I would say look at it, man. Like, give it a chance. If you get an opportunity to play it, like really, like give it a look. It works pretty standard, like a lot of standard deck builders, but the territory control aspect of it, and again, the timing of when you get rid of some of those cards. And Trevor, I'm way probably Drizzt. It's probably Drizzt. I don't know. I always said Drizzt. I'm probably way off, Trevor. So I'm going to defer to you there. Because again, I don't care enough about that character or the lore to get it right. So that's rude. I apologize. But yeah, man, I would say, Mark, if you ever get a chance to play it, give it a shot, give it a look. For me, it just really hit like all the right buttons. I really enjoyed it. I think Mike really liked it when we played it, even though I did win.
It was an honorable mention. It's really good. I need to add it to my collection as well.
Yeah, so I'm really close. I'm like seriously checking my BGG inbox every hour to see if this person has responded. Because I sent them like an email that was like a trade offer a month ago, and then they responded just like yesterday, going, "Oh, I just saw your email, your message. Are you still interested?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am still interested. Please let me know." And he's like, "I'll check the components and I'll get back to you." And I'm like, "Please do, regardless." And then he was like, "It's first edition." And I'm like, "Definitely, please do. I am 1,000,000% looking for first edition." Oh, okay. So Bobby says I'm hitting. So it's Drizzt, maybe. I don't know. Bob would know. He's probably listened to the audiobooks and stuff. And then, hey, Chris, our favorite curmudgeon is here. Glad you're here, Chris. Chris is a very knowledgeable gamer, like in our local area. Has been in the hobby for a long time, and I love to pick on him because he's a super sweet guy, but like he puts on this like crusty exterior where he's like very superior about games, but he's actually super nice. So don't let him fool you. Yeah. Don't let him fool you. He's super cool. And I got mad respect for that guy. Okay, Mark, I will stop. What is your number 2, and why is it an amazing pick that we're going to freak out about?
It's actually a recent title, and I think the Kickstarter for it just recently shipped. I bought it at Gen Con. And my number 2 is Robot Quest Arena.
Oh my God, I want to play this game so bad. Please tell me about it.
So if you remember from like the early 2000s where they had those robot fighting shows where somebody would build a bot and they'd have
BattleBots, baby.
Let's go. BattleBots. That's this in the board game and extra cute as the art style.
Yes.
So when you play Robot Quest Arena, you've got 4 base robots that come with the game. You pick one, and then that's your robot that you fight in this arena. And they have 4 in the base, but during the Kickstarter, and also they had 2 expansions come out. The base ones is the blue, green, pink, and red. And your robots have a special ability on them depending on which one you pick. But it's also a deck building game. So you have this resource. The primary resource is batteries or energy. You use energy to purchase more cards.
Makes
and there's
sense.
also you can also spend energy to move. So you have a singular resource. There's also cards that just give you movement. They just can't be used as energy. So it's really a 2 resource economy, but most of it is in the energy. And the energy will allow you to like move your bot, or you can buy cards. Oh, I mistook. I meant to mention the power. There's a power economy in this too, where you're trying to fight each other and steal the hit points from other bots.
Okay.
And all of these weapons are super goofy and cute. And there's like a boxing glove weapon. There's like a rivet gun, and depending on what weapon you have, weapons have different ranges. You might have a weapon that you have to be adjacent to a robot to hit them with, or you have a range weapon where you can shoot it a certain amount of spaces away to hit the target. And your goal is to destroy other bots. In the middle of the board, there's a victory point scoring area where if you enter, Sorry, that picture caught me off guard. You have these bots that you'll sit in the middle and you'll accrue victory points as the longer you stay within that middle zone. And I've played it like almost 10 times since I bought it from Gen Con, and it's honestly really good like gateway deck building game when it comes to like getting them in the hobby.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool. That is a game that I
remember.
What?
Do you remember when we were at Gen Con and we went to your sister's? Sam Stockton was playing that with some people.
Was he
bought
really?
it at Gen Con. Yes.
Yeah. Mark, I wish we met you at Gen Con, dude. I really do.
I wish I met more people there myself.
You were at Gen Con this year, right?
Yeah. I was there my first year, honestly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We actually had a booth, and we were doing like interviews with designers, and we were giving away games and all kinds of stuff. We were not far. Do you remember the Everdell tree at Gen Con?
Yeah.
We were very close to that. Like we could see that from our booth. I mean, you could see that from space. That tree was so big, but we could like see the side of that tree from our booth. It was, man, I wish we would have met you. But anyways, sorry. Very cool. Great pick. That is a game that has been on my radar. So thank you for bringing it up, because
Wise Wizard makes such good games.
Now I'm not going to be able to let that go. Yeah, Wise Wizard, right? So that's like Star Realms and other stuff, right? So yeah.
And I was actually able to get in contact with the artist. His name's James. And me and him had a really good like hour and a half chat about world building and how he made the world around Robot Quest. And he ended up having a bunch of these copies of these art books that he was supposed to have at a convention, but then COVID hit and he wasn't able to sell them. And he was nice enough to just send me a copy. And I'm like, oh my God, really? I'll compensate you. But he was like, no, just give me your address. And now I have a Robot Quest art book.
That's why I love this hobby in this industry, is that so many guys in this, so many people, let me just say people, so many people in this hobby and in this industry are just generous with their time, with stuff they have. And they're just excited to share it with people that are excited about it too. I love it. What a great story. That's fantastic.
What's your number 2, Mike?
Mike, no pressure.
Man, I'm looking up more on Robot Quest Arena. Now I'm really curious about this.
There was a lot of buzz coming out of Gen Con about that game.
There was.
Yeah.
There was. All right,
and it wasn't just the hum of the servos in those robots beating the crap out of each other.
So this was originally my number 5 that's been pushed up to number 2 because my 2 was Shards of Infinity. So I just swapped these. I only played this game once, and this is another one that is not in my collection. So I definitely like deck builders that include other mechanics. It ties multiple things together, and this deck builder happens to tie in negotiation, which is one of my favorite mechanics, and this is Moonrakers.
Oh, I've never played Moonrakers.
I keep hearing about it. I just haven't opened it.
I would love to play Moonrakers. I've
got to get a copy of this. Yes, it is not cheap. But what's cool about Moonrakers is that you're only allowed to draw so many cards per turn. And on your turn, you are going to try to complete a quest with resources, but you're never going to have enough resources. So thus, you got to get people to help you. And the way you negotiate is by the rewards you get from the quest when you complete it, assuming you can complete it. If you don't complete it, you don't really get anything.
Mike, let me point out Reed's Canadian spelling of favorites. Love you, Reed. Sorry, buddy.
Nice. You got the U in there.
I say that I love Reed so much. He's one of my favorite people.
So what you are doing is trying to complete these quests, which give you rewards, points, ways to get better cards. And so you're negotiating, you're trying to get help from people to complete quests, but you're trying to divvy up the rewards you get out of those quests. And that's where it's really interesting, because some people want the points, other people want the resource you use to buy new cards. but this is like a space game because you're actually like a spaceship and you can buy upgrades to your ship, and those upgrades can make you specialize in producing a specific resource that's needed for these quests. So now you're a more valuable trade partner to people moving forward. Moonrakers is really, really good. I've never seen anything like it. I need to get it in my collection. I need to play it again. I played it once, and it was going to be my number 5.
Did you play it at Spencer's?
I did.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I know Spencer has this game. I'd love to play it.
He's the only one in our group that does.
Yeah, I almost backed it when it came out, and I think I opted to back something else. Like, money was tight at that time. You know how it is when Kickstarters come out. Sometimes the timing's great, and it's like, hey, I got some money. I'm going to back this on Kickstarter. And sometimes the money is not good, and I just got to wait and hope that it still shows up. What's up?
I'm starting to see copies on BGG that are a little bit lower than what I remember. So it might be time for me to. Oh, yeah, here's one that's definitely a fair price. As I talk about these games, I don't have my collection. I'm sitting here looking at them on BGG, and if I see prices below them, I click the links and I start getting excited.
Oh, no, Mike, you should share that link with me so I can totally not snipe that copy out from underneath you.
All right, adding the cart. Yeah, Moonrakers is solid. I've just never seen anything where it's like you've got to get cooperation to get these extra resources to finish the quest. But you're also, you're customizing your ship to make yourself a good trade partner by what you can produce with your ship. So, really, really interesting.
I don't know if Jim is being honest or if he's just talking trash because we're normally so far behind on our top 5s. Jim, you're late. We're about to hit number 1, brother. I love you, Jim, but we're ahead of the game tonight. We were being responsible. Now, hold on. We did start at 8:30, so we cut right to the chase because we have a guest, so we had to behave ourselves like for 5 minutes, and B, we did start a little later, so we did get right in. We're about to hit number 1, Jim. Jim's another game designer. Love that man. He's a great dude and a very talented artist. And I love, here's the other thing, and Mark, feel free at any time, because in my family, in the Aberley household, if we're not giving each other a hard time, throwing each other a little shit now and then, that means we don't like you. If we're just being polite, that's too much. That's like something's probably wrong. If we're busting each other's chops a little bit, that's how you know you're in. So
of course,
that's what Jim's doing. So I don't consider Syracuse Mike a guest. So Mike Giuliano Googs, Mike is never a guest. He is family. Whenever Mike comes in and out, that Mike is no, he's not a guest. He's totally family. And
I'm going to go back to this on Moonrakers real quick. A lot of negotiation, trading games, social games can be very group dependent. Not as fun if people have to win every single trade. But I feel like this game forces you to, until you get to the end of the game where you've got a much better deck, you have to rely on cooperation to complete quests. Only later in the game can you solo a quest.
So as far as like Edward Lasso is concerned, for example, when we review games like this, I would say I would always, like, whether I rate it high or low, because I haven't played Moonraker, so I can't say to that specifically. But I will say that games like that, I would say, are group dependent. So if you've got a group that really enjoys sort of that give and take, that push and pull, strong recommend. If your group does not like that, then hey, like, look, you may like this game, but it may not be great for your group. Maybe you find other people to play this game with, or maybe you just steer clear. But like any game, I think that's always fair to sort of identify those kind of things and say, yeah, like there's tons of games that I 1,000,000% love, and I am diehard for that. There, I will never play with like certain groups of people because it's like, no. I want to continue loving this game. I don't want to have a bad experience because I played it with blah, blah, blah. And I know they don't like this kind of game, or it's just not going to jive with that group. So Moonrakers, I mean, like Cosmic Encounter, right? 1,000,000% negotiation. I love those kinds of games. Those kinds of games are my jam. But there's definitely groups of people that I would not play Cosmic Encounter with because they just they have no interest. They're either that's just not their style. You know, they come into that kind of game flat. You know, Sheriff of Nottingham is another one that I 1,000,000% love, but can fall flat and be really bad with the wrong group. So it sounds like Moonrakers.
There's a skill to like assessing a game and how it will meld with your group. You know,
sure.
There's certain games I don't bring out if it's like certain people.
Yes.
Regarding my wife with certain games, the complexity can only go so high, and then she loses interest. There's like a certain barrier that, you know, how much she's willing to invest in the game to actually start playing it, you know?
Yeah. No, and you're right, Trevor. Trevor. I was reading Trevor's comment. You're 100% right there, Mark. There is, and for me, that was something I had to learn when I got into the hobby was like, not every game is going to be for everybody. So learning to pitch what games to what people, and then finding sort of those gateway games where it's like, well, I think you would like this mechanic, but we can't just jump to game X. So we really should try game A first, and that'll ease you into this mechanic. And should you like it, now we're rocking and rolling and we can move on. One of the reasons why Taverns of Tiefenthal is on my list, because it's got a bunch of different little mechanics that's pretty easy that can bring people in. And yeah, Trevor, you're right. Mike Giuliano, Mark, you don't know this. Mike and I, one time, we had a top 5 planned, and I think Giuliano, he's from Third World Studios, and he's a game designer as well. We probably waited almost 2.5 to 3 hours before getting into the list because we kept getting sidetracked, and then it sort of became a running joke that we almost just didn't even do our top 5 because it kind of became a running joke because Mike over here was off that evening. He might have been in Alaska or doing something, and we just kept talking about other things. And, you know, he's a guy that's in the industry. He's got a lot of knowledge. And, you know, I just, like anybody, enjoy talking to. And we kept getting sidetracked. And then finally, at the very last half hour, we banged out our top 5 really quick. And then it was like, okay, that's the show. Thanks for watching. But it was really long. David, no, I've never been shut out in a negotiation game. Now, there's games of like Werewolf that I've been killed immediately. So if you count that as like a negotiation game. But no, David, you underestimate my charisma and my ability to BS my way into other people's plans.
All right, so let's hear your number 1.
Oh, Mike, hey, write this down for a top 5 for a future top 5.
Hey, I'll need a second though.
Okay. Okay. So my number 1 is probably the most flawed and oldest game on my list, but I do not care. I cannot do a top 5 deck building games if I don't talk about my favorite deck builder of all time. And I know out of the guys that I do the show with that I am probably the only one that loves this game. And I love this game 1,000,000%. This was one of the games that got me into the hobby. And there's many expansions, standalone expansions that I just adore. Some are better than others. Again, like Legendary, this is a game that I've played in competitive play and I've done very well at. So maybe that's colored my perspective, but I don't care. That is Cryptozoic's own DC, the deck building game. There's other versions of this other than the base game that I prefer, but DC Deck Builder, which is what I call it, is just one of my all-time favorite deck builders. I know with Thanksgiving coming up, I've got a friend that comes to Thanksgiving every year, and my in-laws love this game. I'm probably going to play this game 5 times next week. I love DC Deck Builder. I really do. It doesn't hurt that I'm not terrible at it. I'm pretty good at it most of the time. Again, I've won some tournaments playing it at conventions. But no, I really like this game. It is flawed. I understand the flaws, but I really do enjoy this game quite a bit. There's one currency. You are just buying cards. You are just buying those cards. You use the power to either buy more cards and add them to your deck, or you are using the currency to defeat the supervillain, which then you add to your deck, but it gives you victory points, and all the cards give you victory points. That's the base game box. That is the one I played in 2011, maybe 2010 when I first played it. That was the game that legitimately that Catan and Ticket to Ride, the 3 games I played at my sister's house that got me into, that is not a black flashcard that I have seen before. But those are the 3 games that got me into the board game hobby ages ago, like really converted me. And I like taking 2 superheroes instead of 1, which is what they say in the base game. And because those are what give you your asymmetric powers, but giving you two heroes to go at the same time really kind of adds some flavor and some spice to it and makes it a lot of fun. But I just enjoy the shit out of this game. I love it so much. I will never not play it. I will play this game competitively. I will play this game casually. I try really hard. This is the one game. So we give Bob, who's been commenting all night, one of my co-hosts, one of my oldest friends. Bob is one of those guys that when he teaches you a game, he has a hard time of kind of reining it in sometimes, and like giving other players a chance. This is the one game where like I almost always my brain just shuts off when I play this game, and I'm almost in autopilot because I've played this so much that it's like I know virtually what every card does without reading it. I see the name and I know what it does. And it's like, that's the card I want. That's the card I want. That's the card I want. I barely need to read it. Jim, you're right. Never go full Bob especially during the teach, because that will ruin other people's experiences. But this is a game that I have a hard time of going, oh yeah. Like, wait a minute. I need other people to be able to learn this game. Let me try to help them make some optimal, moves, some buys, and some plays. But this is a game I just enjoy thoroughly. I love this game so much. It's one of my all-time favorites. This is a game, again, it's over 10 years old, but for me still stands the test of time. I really enjoy it. I love the art. I'm, again, a comic book nerd. And I just kind of go nuts with this game. I absolutely love it. And yes, Bobby, you 1,000,000% have gotten better. I love you, man. And I don't care because I'll still play games with Bob. And yeah, Scott, you're not wrong. Pull cue Tropic Thunder. You never go full Bob on a teach because it will ruin the experience for other people. This is a very pure and very basic deck builder, very easy to teach. It's very accessible because most of the people are familiar with the DC Comics characters that are offered, especially in the base games, right? It's like Green Lantern, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. It's like, somebody's like, I don't know who Cyborg is. It's like, okay, just take the Flash. You'll be fine. This game is very straightforward. At the time was very unique and broke the mold. If you come to it new now, you're like, this game does nothing new. But again, you have to keep in mind this game is 12 years old or more. But anyways, DC Deck Builder has to be my number one because it is one of my all-time favorite games, and it was the first deck builder I played in the board game hobby. It drew me in, it locked me in, and I became obsessed with this game, and I will never not play it. I love this game with all my heart, always will. DC Deck Builder, my number one. Sorry for the rant.
You're good. It's passionate.
Dude, that's all, dude. I just love this game so much. And I know that like people in my group are like, it's fine. I played better. And it's like, yeah, you probably have played better. Honestly, every other game on my list is better, but it is sprouted because of games like Dominion and DC Deck Builder, and it is built off of these kind of mechanics. Like Ascension even approves on the DC Deck Builder mechanic because it has at least two things in the currency that it offers you instead of one. The thing that it sets it apart from Dominion is that it gives you a variable market. Where Dominion just has that fixed market. You do one thing, you either buy, whatever. You get like one action unless you play a card that gives you multiple actions. But anyways, DC is very fun. I enjoy it quite a bit. And I'll stop.
Speaking of Ascension, that is my number one.
Yes. What a great number one. That is an honorable.
It's like I've seen this game develop over the last decade from when I bought Storm of Souls and like every expansion came out. And I was one of those people that when an expansion would come out, they'd have like a promo card if you pre-ordered it at the Stoneblade Entertainment website. And I always got that promo card in the beginning. And just seeing every version evolve, like the design space of this game. Oh, there's a day and night mechanic in this version.
Yeah.
Oh, in this one, banishing cards is more important.
Yes.
And something that I just really enjoy about Justin and like the way he develops these games and how much he, thanks the fans is sometimes he'll put people in the artwork. If you go to Gen Con and you play in the tournament and you get first, he's put fans in a couple of the artworks. That box right there, like the original Ascension with Eric Sabi as the illustrator.
I love that art.
Just seeing him evolve over time, and then they started adding more artists onto the game as the art style evolved, and it's like each box is its own self-contained experience. I wouldn't recommend mixing them together because they all have like unique mechanics in them, and if you mix them together, it dilutes the experience a bit. Two of my favorite versions of this game was when they decided to, screw the two resource system. We're going to put a third resource in this game.
The dream mechanic?
Yeah, the Dreamscape, Deliverance, and Delirium, where they had the orange resource. And if you had a dream board card come out, everyone would get a resource. So you were always getting them in some way. And if you bought the dream board card, then you'd get one too.
Yes.
And adding this sort of, I guess like a metaphor would be like a stem cell resource where it can be used on anything that game is having, like the auction mechanic in Delirium, or if you spend 5 of them, you can use it to roll the Delirium dice. And that randomness, the only set of Ascension that had a die in it where you could get a random set of resources. Or in Deliverance, where they brought back the transforming card mechanic, and you could spend your insight to transform cards into their better versions of themselves.
Yes.
And I saw his design just improve over the years, and just seeing it all accumulate into like the 5 most recent titles, which I think are the best ones. I would love to see a set come out where it goes back into the like multi-faction heroes, where there's like a Lifebound Enlightened hero or a Void Mechanic hero.
Yes.
I love that mechanic. And I know he's going to be doing that when Ascension Tactics Inferno comes out, where there's going to be like multi-aligned hero cards.
Yeah, when that in Ascension Tactics Inferno comes out, like I'm probably going to have to get that Kickstarter because I was very skeptical on Tactics. And then our friend Bob, who's in our show and has been commenting all night, he has Ascension Tactics, and Mike might talk about that in a minute. But let me just say that game was so damn good. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Because I thought that game was not going to be what it was. And it really takes Ascension to like a whole different level. So the only reason Ascension wasn't on my list is I don't own a physical copy of it, yet I play that game literally every day. Please continue with your list. I apologize for interrupting.
No,
Ascension is so damn good.
It was just like you have the base resource economy system of like power to fight monsters, runes to buy cards. And when he moved that into the miniatures, it was rune to buy cards still, but the power was actually used to activate your heroes on your team.
Yeah.
And that was just another futuring design space for like how do you balance a hero and what is their cost and what are their stats going to be for that cost. And they had heroes that activated for 1 power and they were really weak, or you had heroes that activated for 4. And I saw some spoilers during Ascension Tactics Inferno where like all of the heroes had a base movement stat of 3. And you activate a guy, move him 3 spaces, and then maybe you attack someone. But he added a few cards that are like, these are movement speed 4. And these are the faster guys, and that's the ones I always draft because I think movement in any sort of board control game is the most important mechanic. But when you see what he's doing with Inferno, he's going in the other direction where he has like this one hero that's like a super tank, can only move 2 spaces a turn, but it has like unbelievable stats for its cost. And I see we have promo cards listed up here as well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, let's get all the promos. I was hoping it would go straight to expansions, but nope. It's got to put all the promos in here too.
I love Ascension. It's such a good game. Great pick.
Yeah, I've only played it digital. And yeah, Ascension Tactics was awesome because I just love how it added. The way we played it was 2v2. So the team version was just really fun. And I like how you're recruiting heroes with different abilities to your team. I really like that aspect of it. Tactics was an honorable mention. I've played a lot of Ascension digital, but again, I haven't played the physical copy. Yeah, obviously good pick. I had a feeling one of them was going to be your number one, but yeah, the original, no surprise.
Oh, did you want me to narrow it down to a specific set?
No, you're good.
Hey, if you got a specific set, I sure.
It's so Delirium is one of my favorites. Just because it has that mechanic with the auction where a card comes out. If it has the auction mechanic, you guys can all wager insight to get that ability immediately. And that was like just genius to get every person interacting. They're not just waiting for their next turn. You know, a card comes out. No, I see value in that, and I have 5 insight. I'm going to put 5 insight into that. But is that worth it for 5? You know, and you have that internal debate of like, are you going to overpay for this because someone else is trying to get it before you? And then rolling the dice, just like getting that extra resource between 1 and 6 was just another way to just like add more interest to players on their decision making.
I wonder, is Delirium? I don't think Delirium is available on the app version because I don't know how you pull that off. No, Deliverance is, but Delirium isn't.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I know Deliverance is on there. It doesn't have the dice rolling. I thought Delirium was on there too.
Nope, it's not on the app version. I just had to look because I was like, man, I haven't played that version. It sounds awesome. But again, like Ascension is literally a game that I play every day. But I play it digitally, so I kind of take it for granted because I see it as an app every day.
Well, Scott was actually just asking about that. I mean, my number 4, Mystic Veil, I've never played in physical form, so
I play DC any chance I get. Literally, I play it every Thanksgiving because my niece loves it, and then we have a friend that comes to our house for our family Thanksgiving every year, and he also loves DC deck building. So whether it's like the first game we play or the very last game we play, we end up usually playing a couple rounds of DC Deck Builder every year. 2 to 3 times, if not more, depending on when we get into it. But Ascension, I don't own a physical copy, so I only play it digitally every day. But I do love the damn game. I think it's great.
They have a tiny expansion. I forget what they called it, but it adds cards to any set, and it basically makes it a 2v2 game.
Ooh,
nice. All right. My number one, Tim already mentioned, and I wasn't moving my number one. And that's because this man is one of my favorite designers, and he has multiple games that could have made this list legitimately on their own right. So I'm just going to talk about a few of them as my number one. But it's Paul Dennen, and my favorite version is Clank Catacombs.
Yeah.
I mean, so here's the thing. He started with the original Clank, and original Clank is still in its own right awesome and very good. Whoops, we don't want that. That's terrible. All right, there we go. That's much better. Original Clank is great because you can go with the long strategy of trying to get the highest point artifact and bringing that back, but you might have to pay attention to somebody that's going the short-term strategy, takes the lower point artifact that's closer, and then takes it back before you, because in the original, if you don't get out of the dungeon in time, you'll actually die and you don't complete the game and you cannot win it.
Catacombs is my favorite version currently. So
that's just base Clank, and I love the fact that the short-term strategy is completely viable. But he made, in space, where if one person gets out quicker, it's not as punishing. You can't actually be eliminated in space. You can, but it's harder to do. And then Clank Catacombs actually made all of this better because now it's on this completely modular board. And so instead of having the static setup every time, in space had different modular parts of the board that you could kind of add in there. But Catacombs really fixed it all and made it a dungeon exploring mechanic. And as you're playing the game, you're pulling these tiles out that may have totally different effects. And so it becomes a very tactical type of game. Like you may be long-term looking at the type of deck that you want to build, but short-term you got to pay attention to what tile gets drawn. And so I just love what Catacombs does. It's definitely the best version of Clank. Haven't played Legacy though. Need to so bad. Yeah, we just need to start your Clank Legacy campaign sometime, Tim.
We do.
Dumb. It's just stupid that we haven't at this point.
Oh my God, I agree. I agree.
All right.
Bob may be onto something. The problem is we were doing sort of the Aeon's End Legacy, and I just, spoiler alert, don't give a shit about that story. I think that the deck building aspect of it is interesting, but I think the story is terrible, absolutely written like really bad fan fiction. But man, I just love Clank so much. So yeah.
So let me just real quick continue talking about Paul Dennen, one of my favorite designers, because he also designed Dune Imperium, which is one of my other favorite deck building games.
I was wondering. I thought this was going to be your number one. Honestly, Mike.
I could they could have been 1-2. They really could have. Both of these games are awesome and very different from another. As you can see, I give this one a 9. I think Dune Imperium is amazing, and I've only played base game. I have Rise of Ix and I have Immortality. I haven't used either. But what's so interesting about this is you're dealt your hand of 5 cards. You're only going to be able to use 3 for workers, and your cards determine what places you can go to. They have different areas on them that are synced up with different parts of the board, so you're restricted from where you can go based on the cards that are in your deck.
I've definitely gotten that suggested.
What's that?
I said I definitely got Dune Imperium suggested. I don't know much about the world of Dune and all the history of the movies and stuff, but if it's a good deck builder, I'll give it a shot.
it's a great deck builder, and I don't know anything about Dune either. And the two cards you don't use, you get these abilities from the bottom of the card. So they're kind of like these resources that you get on your turn. Like, okay, do I want to activate this card and get the special ability, which also allows me to go to this sector of the board? Or do I want to reserve this card, not use it, and get the ability that's at the bottom? That is, again, another very fresh take on deck building. I love the way that incorporates worker placement. I love the way that incorporates a conflict mechanic to where you have to commit resources or troops, if you will, to like a battle that's going to happen at the end of every round. Man, yeah, Dune Imperium is awesome. All the Clank games are awesome. I just left Paul Dennon's games for number one. There's just too many to pick from.
Man, good pick.
That was a lot of ground.
Yeah, I know. He's one of my favorite designers. I just saved them all for number one. But yeah, Dune Imperium does a lot of great things. And here's the funny thing. These games get compared all the time. So just real quick to tidy up here, and then we can get into honorable mentions. Because I have plenty I haven't even talked about. I liked Lost Ruins of Arnak better than Dune Imperium. Why did I not put it on a deck building list? Because you can win the game without deck building. That game is a worker placement game with resource conversion. That is how you win that game. You can win that game by exploring new territories and destroying guardians and converting resources to go up the tech track. You can totally ignore deck building in Lost Ruins. You really can. I've seen Bob beat me in BGA games where he bought one card. If you can buy one card in a deck building game and win, then deck building is not that important. I love Lost Ruins of Arnak, but deck building is like not just secondary in this game. It's honestly like tertiary in this game. It's worker placement with resource conversion. That's what that game is. Deck building is just there to aid those other two things. So I didn't put it on this list.
Yeah, I've only played Arnak one time, and I played Dune Imperium one time. Both have a deck building aspect, and I've not played enough to put on my list. And neither one of them made like such an impression with me that I was like, oh, I love this game. I recently purchased Arnak. If you're in our Discord, you saw that because I found it really cheap at like a bargain store. But it was kind of a gamble when I bought it because it was an open copy. And so I had to go through and like make sure all the components were there. Mark, do you have any honorable mentions you would like to talk about?
Good question.
And it's fine if you don't. There's no pressure. I just know that I do. Mike probably has some. I wanted to give you the opportunity.
I don't have any off mind right now. When I was writing my list out, we kind of covered ground on everything, and now I have like 6 more games I need to look into.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, that's the danger, right? That's totally the danger with these kind of lists. Mike, do you want me to do mine first, or you want to alternate? How you want to do it?
I'll throw mine in here.
Go for it.
I think you usually go first on these. So, Marvel Legendary was one of my honorable mentions. I feel like there's others I prefer now, so that's why I didn't put it in my top 5. It was one of my gateway games. I've played it more than 20 times. It still holds up today. It's got great fulfilling combos. Great pick there. The Star Wars deck building game. We've talked about it a lot this year since it came out.
On my list.
Really, really good 2-player game. Star Wars deck building game. I like how you can have constructs out that you can destroy. But you are trying to eliminate the other player, except that you're doing so with a base, and it's like a base planet that has a set number of hit points. So ultimately, you got to use attack points to get through the other player's constructs, and then be able to actually attack the planet.
But
once you
Oh, go on.
You have to hit the construct first. You can't hit the planet. You got to destroy the constructs because they're defending the planet, outside of, we'll say in low
Hoth,
gravity.
whatever.
Right. Then when you pick a new planet and say somebody destroys it, each planet, as soon as you select it, has a new ability that can be like an active ability, use one time. It can be a passive ability until somebody destroys it. And so I really, really like how that's done. The other thing that makes this game specifically amazing is how the cards are catered to each side. You are either only recruiting dark side cards or you're recruiting rebellion cards.
Yes.
Well, how do you clear out the market if there's only dark side cards and you're the rebellion? You can attack the other cards from the other side.
That's what I was getting at.
You can use attack points to destroy a dark side card, and you actually get a quick, immediate benefit from doing that, and it refreshes the market. I love that mechanic so much.
That is the thing that I was like, come on, Mike. Come on.
I know.
Mike.
I was
Get to that
building
part.
up towards it.
Get to that part. That is so good.
Towards it, Tim.
I 1,000,000% love that. That is on my list, on my honorable mentions because of that. Oh, it's so damn good. Super fun.
Quick
That's
question.
another one you definitely got to try.
What you got, Mark?
I'm going to have to jump off soon. Is there any ground that we can cover before I have to bounce?
How about one more time? Why don't you tell us about Cities of Myrkesh and like go through what separates it from some of the other deck builders we've talked about tonight, and then we'll let you go.
Okay. So with my game, there's the two differences from deck building games that I wanted to show off in my game, which was the 10 card market. That's circular. Some cards will be facing you, some cards won't be. I usually encourage players to, like, if you see a card that you can afford and you want to read its ability, just pick it up, take a look, and then pop it back. The fact that it doesn't have a side market, because I see like deck builders who always have that side market built in. I just
always
just abandon that idea and just let the main 10 card market express to the player, hey, these are the cards you're going to be able to grab. And some of these cards might interact with other districts. If you play a Merchant's Row card, the same turn you play the other card, you might get an extra bonus. So having cards that synergize with each other and encouraging players to just go in like 2 to 3 districts. You can still go like into a singular district, but you might lose out in advantages as if you were to instead go on at 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And the different play styles. In like TCGs, there's 3 different like archetypes for when you build a deck. You either have like an aggro deck, a control deck, or a mid-range deck. And I have those 3 archetypes within my game.
Yeah, and it sounds like the way that your game is laid out, you're able to kind of combine or focus on those strategies as you like. And the other thing that your game incorporates that really intrigues me is the multi-use cards, playing them horizontally for movement versus using them for their purchasing power or their abilities that they may grant. If you play them vertically, I think it's super cool. I love multi-use cards in a game. I think Mike and I specifically have talked about that and really liking that in games. So kudos to you for that, dude.
Thank you. I wanted to try to make a game where during your turn, there's a lot of like player interaction and you're not just sitting there waiting for your turn, even though it's like one player goes at a single time. Maybe that player is interacting with their opponents, handing out negative status tokens or making them reveal the top card of their deck and drawing it. There's a ton of abilities like that and that encourage interacting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, awesome, dude. Awesome. Really, I really like that you come at it as a fan of deck builders and then try to create and present sort of a deck building game that fixes problems that you had when you play deck builders and but with like fun solutions and again, like it sets it aside from and sets it apart from other deck builders, even the ones we've talked about tonight, because we've talked about some really great ones tonight. So kudos to you for that. Like,
well, thank you for letting me pick the theme for the list.
Oh, come on, man. That's what we do for our I mean, to be fair, we don't just do that for you. We do that for every guest. But I will say you picked a theme that I was particularly passionate about and could really go crazy with. I love deck building games, and it's kind of why having you on as a guest made sense, at least for me. Because I was like, Mike, I can go on about deck building games all night, buddy. Like,
right?
I would love to come back at some point in the future when maybe my game has progressed over time and then be working on a second or third expansion and just regaling all that experience.
Here's the thing, Mark, is once you have popped your cherry with us, you're always welcome back.
Fantastic.
So yeah, man, you're welcome back anytime. We'll be happy to have you. Thank you so much, because we didn't know you before tonight, really. So it was wonderful to get this opportunity to get to know you. Thank you for sharing yourself and your game with us. I really appreciate that. I think that's awesome to do.
Thank you for having me. It was a fantastic discussion. I've done a couple of designer interviews, and some of them definitely feel less, what's the word, like less free. You know, with this one, it's very much just bouncing ideas off each other and then continuing on with the main goal.
Yeah, we're not, we on our live streams, at least, structure is whatever. Like, I just want to get to know Mark as a guy. Like, let's sit down. It's almost like we're hanging out with Mark. We're having a beverage. We're having a meal. Let's just BS, get to know the guy. Because I feel like if people know you better and they understand your game, you know, they get your perspective, your approach to the game, they're more likely to give it a chance, give it a look. And I just like getting to know people. So thank you for giving us that chance. I feel like you really opened up with us, and you know, hopefully we made you feel comfortable, and this was like a comfortable and safe space for you to just really be yourself and be passionate about what you're excited about.
Yeah, you guys definitely achieved that.
So, hey, we win.
Great to hear, man. And if you're at any cons, we'll definitely stay in contact, and we'll look for you for sure.
Yeah, thank you. I want to be able to go to more conventions, or at least go to Gen Con one more time and have a booth eventually. That'd be great.
If you're at Gen Con next year, we will be there in some form or another, and we'll hang out. We'll play a deck builder together. You can pick which one.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Gen Con and Origins, we're a guarantee. We're Indiana based, so Midwest cons, we're
Illinois based.
Nice.
Yeah, you're not that far from us. So, well, Mark, have a great night, dude. Thank you so much for making the time. I really appreciate you being here, man. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a fantastic discussion. After a long work day, it was nice to talk about stuff that we're passionate about.
Dude, that's like what gets me to hump day, is knowing I get to do this show in the middle of the week. Wednesdays are busy days for both Mike and I, both at work and our day jobs. And so getting to have like a beverage and just hang out and let loose with not just our guests and each other, but like everybody that pops on the chat and like comments, it just makes our nights. It makes my week. Like I can't wait till we get to do the lives again. So thanks for coming on and being a part of that.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Mark. Have a good night, man.
You too.
All right. So Mike.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
That was awesome. I love it. I love getting to know new people, new designers. His game sounds really unique and really interesting.
I want to go back it now. You know,
I know.
It's only got a week left. Guys, if you're interested in a unique take on deck building, definitely check out City of Myrkesh. It hasn't quite funded yet, which I will tell you, I've played games that have not quite yet funded yet, and that does not mean they are not good games. That may just mean they don't have enough exposure, guys. And so that's why we like talking to guys like this. Like he's got a cool game here, and just not enough people know about it. That's
and
really all it is.
Let me just say, today I was having multiple conversations with some people, let's just say are in the industry. And I was having private conversations specifically about Kickstarters.
Oh, you too?
And yeah, Mike. What's nice is that like I'm just friends with these people, and I just reach out and go, hey, so like what's up with this and blah blah blah. And it's really cool because you get like sort of the inside story, and again, I said it before, like I'm a geek for like industry and shop talk. But yeah, these Kickstarters, especially with these indie guys, it's so tough, and like every little thing. Scott, listen, Vigilante was not on my list. Hopefully Reed isn't mad at me about that. But like Vigilante feels more of like a hand building game than a deck building game.
Yeah, not the purest form of my interpretation of deck building, but I know Rita's working on one.
Oh my God, yeah.
So,
I already subscribed to his BGG page for that. Rune Quest? Is that what it's called?
Oh crap! I know I subbed already too, and I don't remember.
I subbed. Yeah, Scott, check it. Scott, do you have Vigilante? Have you played Vigilante? Man. I'm just gonna ask. Mike, do you have other honorable mentions? Because I still have some, but I wanted to make sure we gave Mark his due real quick before we go.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll quick and dirty my last few here. I thought you might mention this. It's probably an honorable mention for you too. And yeah, there's actually an ICP deck building game out there that's really good called Into the Echo Side. This is a legitimately good deck builder. It's hard to find. It's always worth talking about because it is solid. It's actually a good deck building game, and there's like different benefits by having multiple cards from the same like faction that trigger at once. They all have different faction abilities that feel good and unique. ICP deck builder, guys, Into the Echo Side is what it's called. It's really hard to find, but it's fun. We have a review of it.
It's really good. The problems with it are the Wheel of Fortune mechanic is underused and kind of garbage because it's not used enough. The artwork is fantastic. And the other problem with it is, like Mike said 100 times,
an ICP theme.
And he's correct, is it's super hard to get your hands on. You have to like continuously check their website, find it when it's back in print, and then buy it immediately. Really good. Arctic Scavengers, I played one time, really enjoyed. Dan introduced me to that game. He is correct. It's really good. But I don't have it, and I've only played it the one time. And Bob, yes, it's on the Psychopathic Records website when it's in stock, but it's not always in stock. And I know this because I kept trying to find my own copy. Then when I found a copy, I think I let Bob know, but then it was out of stock, but then it was in stock. It was like a whole thing. There's even an expansion for this game that's super hard to get. David, I will say that the deck builder, I don't think the deck builder has the bathroom humor.
It doesn't at all.
That the lyrics do. It's more just like you recognize the artists because they're the cards you're buying. And I will say,
have any of that
outside of like the Great Malenko and some very generic, like surface level references, that's all I get. I am not the ICP guy, but the game works very well. The artwork's very good, and it is not too potty, humor.
Yeah. It's one of those where the theme or IP or whatever probably actively works against it because you think it's probably more of a joke. And no, it's a legitimately good deck builder.
Somehow they pull that off.
I'll add, I only got to play this once, but it is in my collection. It's Viscounts of the West Kingdom. This is another one that is deck building, but this is from Shim Phillips and Garfield Games, and it's, of course, one of the West Kingdom games. This is unique because you get to move around on this board, and you're doing a lot of resource conversion. Where you're at on the board does determine what cards you can buy. And then when you draw cards from your deck, they actually go in a conveyor belt. And so you can see what cards are coming down the conveyor belt, and you only have access to one card each round. So that one card is a benefit you get to use for that one round, but you can see what's coming this round. And then you can see the next 4 rounds of benefits of cards coming down the chain. Viscounts of the West Kingdom is a very unique take on deck building, and I had to give it a mention because I know Tim has not played enough Shim Phillips games, and I this is the best one I've played that is not Scholars.
I played one, and I believe it was Scholars. I can't even remember.
Scholars of the South Tigris. Yeah, that's the one you've played. This is the one you need to play next, and it's in my collection. I know this is one we both have that's out of print and was hotness for a while. I don't think you ever played Blood Bowl Team Manager, did you, Tim?
Own it, haven't played it.
Yeah, own it as well. Blood Bowl Team Manager takes Blood Bowl, which is a fantasy football theme. Not fantasy football, but fantasy as in like orcs, goblins, and stuff, football. And it makes it a deck builder. It's a loose deck football theme because it's more like here's a token that's in the middle of the battlefield. Yep, got it as well. It's pretty decent. And I am able to play cards into a lane that can move that token to my side. And if I have the token on my side, I'll get additional benefits out of it. Between rounds, I get to add more cards to my deck that I'll shuffle in. You can play multiple games and even build up like a campaign and then add different cards that way. But Blood Bowl Team Manager kind of unique as well in how that one works, as you're trying to control a token that moves back and forth. And then, yeah, that's really it. I will say real quick because Jim has been in the chat, and I haven't talked about anything he's mentioned yet, but he's asked us to do dishonorable mentions before. And so I'll mention a game that I traded away. I gave it to Googs actually when we were at Gen Con. I brought this game because it is his co-host Chris Strain.
Shadows of Light and Dark.
Path of Light and Shadow.
Oh, that's what it is. Something like that.
I loved the idea of this game because it is a deck builder with territory control. But what you're doing is wherever your figure ends his turn. This sucks. That's the part I wanted Tim to hear. Wherever your figure ends his turn, that's the deck you get to draw from. And so they tell you what type of cards come out of that deck, but there's never a market of cards you get to buy from. So you don't know what you're getting. And ultimately, what made me trade that game away was how fiddly the combat is. Like, you're trying to destroy the other player's base, but you got to add their base damage plus whatever cards they may draw they can add to it, plus a die roll. And I just thought combat was so fiddly and it's really long. I did a 4-player teaching game of this. We were at 2.5 hours and we were probably 3/4 of the way done. It's just insanely long and combat is really fiddly. I don't know. Bob didn't play that one with me because we played it at a Meeple event here locally. But yeah, that one kind of fell flat for me and I traded away. Interesting you mentioned that one, Edward, because I got the wrong version. It's probably why it was on sale. I went to the Barnes and Noble Red Dot sale and I picked up the Transformers deck builder. And then I started reading the rules, and it just seems pretty convoluted. There's way too many weird rules in that one. And then, of course, I heard that the G.I. Joe deck builder is way better than the Transformer. And I mention that because they both were published by Renegade Games. Both of those IPs appeal to me because, again, I'm a kid of the 80s. So both of those, cartoon animated themes appeal a lot. But yeah, Tim, the last one I mentioned was, yeah, you heard Path of Light and Shadow. You don't really have control of the cards that you get to buy because there's no available market. It's where your miniature ends. That's the card that you draw. But then Edward mentioned the GI Joe deck builder, which made me think of the Transformers deck builder, which I notoriously hated the rule books really, really bad. But those are both Renegade games, and yeah, Transformers leaves a bit to be desired. if you look at what content creators have to say about it.
And
what's your honorable?
Oh my gosh, I was trying to think of some dishonorables. Honestly, I'm having trouble thinking of some dishonorable mentions.
I'll throw another one out real quick while you're thinking. I never played the DC deck builder game. Obviously, I will just say, hey, Mike, you want to play it? Next time I'm over, I will. But I've played a spinoff of that theme and the mechanics. I've actually played the Teen Titans Go deck building game, which, as you know, is based on DC characters.
It's the same. It's the same mechanics.
And the game is exactly the same. And I was like, wow, this game is pretty good. I didn't think a Teen Titans Go deck building game would be that good. I bought it for a kid, and I played it with him several times. I was like, this is pretty good. And then I later realized it's the DC deck building mechanic.
That's one of the expansions I don't have, unfortunately, because at the time I was like, what's this crap? But then I started watching Teen Titans Go, and I'm like, this is one of my favorite cartoons of all time.
That's pretty good. It is.
I love that cartoon legitimately. So a couple of honorable mentions while we're talking about Cryptozoic and them building off of that frame. The Lord of the Rings, deck building game is pretty good from Cryptozoic. I don't like it near as much as I like the DC deck builder. It's fine. Instead of having like a character you play as, you get like a card that goes in your deck that triggers every, turn you draw it, but then you're kind of at the mercy of drawing that card. Whereas the DC deck builder lets you play as a superhero. And then so certain types of cards will trigger like extra bonuses for you if you can gain them. So the Lord of the Rings one is fine for me. I like DC better, but that's probably personal taste as well. NHL Power Play, also by DC Deck Builder. I'm not a hockey guy, but this is a sports card game where you're drafting different hockey players, and they've got different abilities, right? Like, so some are better at like goalies, some are going to help you score, some are going to help you buy cards from the lineup, and there's a goalie. And then, so if you try to score on the goalie, everybody else playing the card can play a defense to add to that goalie's defense to help block you from making a goal. It's like so many points to win the game. It's not a perfect game, but it's fun, and it's a really nice twist on not just deck building, but like, it's the only hockey game I've ever played. Bobby, yeah, the Attack on Titan deck builder, I've only played it with you a couple times. And I think it's really cool, but it's really hard, and I need to play it more. Totally worth mention. Sentinels of the Multiverse, unfortunately, is not a deck building game. I love that game. It's clunky. It's difficult, but it is not a deck building game. It's not even a deck construction game. It's just a card game.
Use your deck shuffle draw.
Yeah.
You're not adding.
It's sort of like really Marvel Champions, except without the construction of the decks. You're just picking your heroes. You're constructing a scenario.
Tim, I need to add an honorable mention for you. You, Bob, Dan, and Spencer got to preview this game when it was on Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. You recently got the finalized copy of it. I never played it. I want you to talk about it.
Which one?
It's from an indie publisher.
Solar Titans. Titans. Oh my God, Solar Titans.
Give that game some love, please. I don't know anything about it, but you guys really talked it up.
Oh my God, this game's so much fun. You're literally building up your own spaceship, and then you've got like firing lines based on like where you place things in your ship. It is like a deck building, tableau building game, but the tableau is your spaceship. And you're literally building shields, and you're placing weapons, which are then firing, which means they're going to hit in different spots of different people's ships. This game is so freaking cool. I really like it. This is a game that I wish more people knew about. I think if it was put out by a mainstream publisher, it would probably do really well. Solar Titans
didn't have like a huge funding goal or a ton of backers,
no,
but it
was
doesn't make the game.
No, it was an okay enough Kickstarter, right? Like, like it did well for an indie, nobody knows who they are Kickstarter. But Dan, Bob, Spencer, and I had an awesome time playing this game. I recently just got the Kickstarter version of the game. I cannot wait to get into it because this game is so much freaking fun. And really enjoy it. And Mike, yes, it was an honorable mention because of the fun things it does. This is very much like, I mean, you have to be okay with like, it's not a take that because it is just like us versus like me versus you. I'm trying to blow your ship up. You're trying to blow my ship up. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But I enjoy it quite a bit. I think that the style of the game is really fun, and I really like it. I cannot wait till we do a video of it and because it's for me an excuse to play it more, but to do a video of the finished copy and the product with everything we've got going on right now, I think will be really good. We'll be able to show it off really well, and I think it's really good. Another deck building game I want to talk about. This is one that I am like obsessed with, but I haven't played it enough for it to make my top 5. But this is one I talk about all the time. This is a Colossal Games release that gets no notice. It is horror themed, and it's called Terrors of London. And this is a game that really builds off of the tags of the cards that you're buying and adding to your deck. And you're going to play as like a different monster kind of thing. And so you've got some different things going on. Yes, Mike, that is it. This game has amazing artwork. There's a lot of more complexity to it than like, say, a DC deck builder or even Marvel Legendary, even though it kind of uses a similar tag system as Marvel Legendary. So it really rewards you for pulling off big combos where you have these different icons that are going to line up if you can play them all at the same time. But the game's got great art. It's a very dark theme. And I think it's really cool, and just not enough people know about this game. Solar Titans, it's funny, David, you say that because it kind of makes me think of Galaxy Trucker with like how you are paring down people's ships, except unlike Galaxy Trucker, you're able to rebuild your ship mid-flight. Yeah, Jeff, there's a lot of really fun deck builders. Jeff was one of our first editors on the show, and I think Jeff was always open to games, but we really like exposed him to a lot of games. And Jeff, there's so many good games we could tell you about. If we had more time, we could show you. And Jeff, to Jeff's credit, that guy was always open to kind of just playing anything. He definitely, like anybody, he definitely had things where it's like, no, this really appeals to me. But Jeff definitely was open. And to his credit, was always like, yeah, I'll try it. Sure. If we needed a 5th player or a 4th player, like, hey, Jeff, you want to sit in? You want to just play this with us? You're not going to be in the video, but you can play it with us because we want to play it like a fuller player count and experience it. And I just love a guy that is always just down to try whatever. He was never a wet blanket and was always a good sport. And was, really fortunate to be around and get to know Jeff because of that. So Jeff, thank you, man. Appreciate you. And yeah, pop into a meetup or something sometime because I'd love to get to play some more games with you. Super fun. Jeff had an idea for a thing we did on the show for a while. And when he left, it kind of died with him. But we've been kind of messing with re-implementing, and that was a board game roulette where we had a list of games, let's just say 1 through 10, and we would all contribute a game to this, right? So let's just say Clank was 1 and Orleans was 2 and Cubitos was 3. And so what happens is we'd roll a die, we would play that game. Then the winner got to replace the game that came off the shelf. Because let's say we played Cubitos. We rolled a 3, we played Cubitos. Let's say I won Cubitos. Well, now I get to put a new game on that shelf. And now, so there's a new number 3. Then we roll a die and see what game it is that we play next. So it's like a fun sort of thing that Jeff had kind of helped inspire and cultivate and did with us. I thought it was great. It felt weird doing it after Jeff left. And then also like the show kind of changed and evolved a little bit, has evolved a little bit since then. We keep kind of flirting with bringing it back in like different ways. But I just feel like Jeff really deserves a lot of credit for that and what he brought to that. So Jeff, if we bring it back, trust me, we will give you full credit, for your ideas. And I really appreciate what you brought to the show when you were a part of it and you were with us. So thank you for that. So Terrors of London was one of my deck builders. I said NHL Power Play. I really think Richard Garfield's The Hunger is a really fun deck builder, and I want to play that more. Because what you're doing is you're vampires and you're venturing out to then suck the blood of victims. And that's what's going to build like your pool, and you're building, cards that are going to give you extra abilities and extra movement out and, extra things like that. But then you still have to get back to your crypt before daylight. And so if you can't get back in, it sort of has like a Clank aspect where if you get to the graveyard, but not your castle, you can still get some points. But yeah, I think The Hunger is really good. I'd like to play it some more before I weigh in on it.
Play that one.
More. No, that was probably pre-Mike, but not by a lot.
Not by a lot. You guys were talking about it, I think.
But I enjoyed The Hunger. I still have it on my shelf. Would like to play it again. And but yeah, I have not played any of these games, Scott. Oh wait, no. View Unsung. I haven't played Runestones, haven't played Super Motherload, but I think that one sounds super cool.
Ooh.
I played half
Super
a game.
Motherload is solid. I've played it a couple times. It's been a few years. It's like Dig Dug the game.
It's
digging. It's like you're digging through like Mars terrain and trying to get to these treasures as you go. It is really cool.
Shards of Infinity, of course, was on my honorable mentions. After Us was literally my number 6. The problem is that the games on my top 5 I have played so much and genuinely love so much. It was really hard for After Us to supplant any of them. But
yeah, God, you went with all your throwbacks.
I did.
There was no hotness. There was no Tim Dutcheck that's in here. Tim went tried and true his favorite deck builders here. I was pretty impressed.
Here's the thing, Mike, is like deck builders was one of my very first mechanics that was my favorite mechanic right out of the gate.
Right.
And I had to just be true to my soul with that one, because and honestly, like I haven't talked about a ton of these for a while. When we do our top 50 and our top 50 that aren't in our top 50, some of these will come up. But like, holy shit, like, no, this was an opportunity to just go, you know what, man? Like, this is my list. I freaking love all of these games. And this is the order in which I love these games. But man, After Us, seriously. I mean, Mike, you and I messaged about After Us, like how high is After Us going to be? And I just could not bump it, because After Us, Star Wars Deck Builder. I mean, those are two games that came in just really hot for me this year. That I really liked, may be on my favorite new to me games for this year. And
Yes.
And I just genuinely love those games, but they're honorable mentions
We
for
need to get
me.
that review out. That one's been the can for a hot minute.
Which
That one
one?
needs to go out
Oh,
after
After
us.
Us. Yeah, it's
We have
coming.
not released that review yet.
Oh my
It's
God,
coming.
it's coming.
I know.
It's coming. The problem
I
is
know.
that we had like Last Light. We had some other games that were super hot that we were trying to pop out. And then the last one I'll talk about is another indie publisher, and that's Quartermain. Quartermain is a really unique deck builder. It's got a fixed market, but it also has like this really cool trophy system because you're hunting on the savannah. And so where cards are based on the savannah determines like how hard they are to get. So it's kind of this fun take on like how that whole mechanic and system works. I really enjoy it. I think it's worth mentioning. And if you're into the lore and any of that stuff, I mean, it's just a nice theme, and it makes sense. The theme makes sense. So Quartermain's the last one I'll mention on the deck builders. I think it's really good. I liked it. Some people found the theme problematic because it's like colonialism, and you're going into Africa to do some stuff. And I get that, but I will just say maybe I'm an asshole, but it's also just a game. I'm playing a game. I'm not actually subjugating or exploiting anyone. So it is a board game, and I enjoy playing it. So take that as you will. And I'm happy to have a conversation if that's a problem. I really am. I really am. Oh, Bobby, Chemical Overload is not out yet, so it can't be on my list, but good golly, Chemical Overload, the minute that game is like everybody has access to it, I cannot wait. Thanks, John. It's just a game. We can talk everybody's politics on a whole different show. And again, like there are games that are just naturally going to be problematic because of the themes. And I think if you have an issue with those themes, you should just stay away from them. If you're like me and you can just see it for what it is and just enjoy it as a game. And it's not like people that capitalized on those problematic issues are the ones making the money. Just enjoy yourself, play a game. It's like Puerto Rico, other games like that. The original version of Five Tribes, which had slaves instead of fakirs, whatever. If you have a problem with that wording, I appreciate that. I respect that. I understand it. But for me, was not an issue. I'm just playing a game, man. I'm having a good time. If it was at the time, what it was, then that's what it was. Some people will never play Secret Hitler because it has Hitler in the title, and Hitler is a character in the game. It is what it is. Yeah, and David, you're right. I mean, you play Axis and Allies, somebody's got to be the Axis powers.
Right.
Somebody's got to do it. It does not mean you are committing all the atrocities or you support the war crimes committed by, anybody involved in that war. That is not what that means. It just means you're playing a historical representation of a board game. And I'm very comfortable just looking at it like that. Again, not everybody's cup of tea and not everybody's point of view. I respect that. But for me, I just want to play board games. Yeah, Secret Voldemort, Secret Trump. I mean, there's all these versions of the game. Whatever flavor allows you to enjoy a board game, good for you. Yeah, Bobby, that doesn't make much sense to me either. A circus is what it is. Are they problematic? Sure.
Sorry. I didn't mean to be insensitive to circus animals.
Yeah, Hate in a Box, Tammany Hall, 1,000,000% could be a very problematic game because you are exploiting ethnic groups in New York City to get you elected and gained you political power. But that is literally the theme of the game because it is a representation of history at that point in time. I don't have a problem with that because I find that educational and B, I think it's interesting, you know. Yeah, I mean, US history, world history, everything, there's always going to be problematic things that happen. And you know,
not that there's anything wrong with that.
I just choose to not I don't know. I choose to not let it bother me. I choose to use those things as learning points, teaching points. To me, if we're playing Tammany Hall, for example, and we're talking about how terrible things were back in the 1860s in New York City and how they're exploiting these groups, what an awesome thing to have a whiskey and play this game and talk about some of that stuff and be like, holy shit, can you believe that they got away with this? You know what I mean? It's not like, yeah, this is great. We're exploiting the Irish. I say that as someone with a majority of Irish heritage. You know, I mean, you don't play those games for that reason. You know, I don't
offended by the potato famine, Tim.
Right, exactly. Right. Well, show's over. You mentioned the potato famine. Triggered, we're done. No, fuck that. Like, we're having a good time. We're playing a game. Let's just go. Yeah, Secret Circus. That's the version of Three Ring Circus without the animals. The Secret Circus. You know, I mean, there's Arc Nova, right? Where people, I guess, would be offended because animals are being put in a zoo. Look, if you have a problem with it, I understand that. I appreciate your opinion. I don't always necessarily have to agree with it. We can talk about it. Let's go. But I want to play games that I like. Blazing Saddles. I enjoy comedy that pushes the envelope.
Hey, haven't seen this guy in a minute.
Jason, now where you been, brother?
Now I want Blazing Saddles, the board game.
Oh, Lord. Lord have mercy. Cannot print 99% of the cards that would go involved in that, nor the instructions.
Jason, we need to have a chat, sir. I'm going to my cousin's in Fairmount for Thanksgiving. Let's have a chat.
Mike, don't you dare play a game with Jason without me. I'll be so mad at you.
I'm going to try and
play That's going to trigger me way more. That's going to trigger me way more than Slaves being in the first edition of Five Tribes.
We will chat, Jason. There will be some Discord messages you need to watch out for.
Thank you, Barry. And let me just say, look, man, like, I'm just the guy. I just want to sit down and play games and have a good time. So,
pretty much,
Mr. Potato Famine. You know, like, I don't know, man. My politics do not always align with even some of my closest friends. But the awesome thing is we can all have a dialogue about it. You know, and I think that sometimes when it bleeds into board games, I'm just kind of like, come on, can't we just play a game and just have a good time?
Yeah, I know. I just don't like. Speaking of wow, did Tim's phone die on me? I think that's what happened. I think his phone died and he wasn't paying attention.
I don't know what happened. I went to hit David's thing and I boot myself out of the show for a
phone dying.
No, I've been counteracting that pretty well.
Tim, I do gotta say, I know that like we've got a full squad tonight, but and we got a late start, but we're running on 11:30.
Okay, so Mike, give me like 2 trivia questions or something.
Okay. Let me go ahead and grab out of this box to my left, which is still Outburst, the 1990 edition.
Okay, so while Mike's doing that, next week, Friendsgiving, there's no guests, there's no topics. We will share a link in our Discord. So you have to go to the Discord. We will share a link in our Discord to the StreamYard. What's going to happen is you're going to click that link. It's going to like let you look at your mic. It's going to let you test your audio. It's going to put you like in a waiting room. And then Mike and I are going to have the ability to pull you into the stream. And then we want to either allow you to do one of two things. You can either play a game with us like we're about to do. You play a round or two, hang out for a minute, or you can maybe share your favorite new to you game of 2023. Doesn't have to be a new release. Could be a game that you experienced for the first time this year, or just ask Mike and I anything you want. One of three things. You do that, you're going to get entered in to win a game. And I'm going to tell you that we'll have multiple games that we're going to give away. One of them probably is going to be very exciting. The other ones might just be, yeah, but I'm not going to say what. The other ones might just be games off of Mike and I's, like we just want to get rid of these games list. Or Bob's. I might pull Bob's out of Bob too. But Friendsgiving, I would honestly love to have as many of you guys come on and participate, even if it's just for like 30 seconds. And you can do like Mark. You don't have to come on camera. You can do audio only. Just pop up your avatar and just talk to us for a few minutes. We want to say, hey, thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for being here. And this is marking, we're a week early of our 1 year anniversary celebration. But yeah, we're giving away stuff. There's going to be a grand prize, and I'm not going to say what it is until next week. But all you have to do to enter is to just pop in. Yes, David, chat is available. But to enter, you got to pop in just for a second, like just for a minute. And be like, and Mike, you suck.
There's many
Mike,
ways we can send you the link. It doesn't have to be Discord.
You can message us.
Your BGG account,
yes,
Facebook, email, you name it. We can get you in there very many ways.
Oh, Barry.
So Jim, you are technically going to be on the 1 year anniversary show because you've designed a game and you've been on the show. So you already know we want you back the week after Thanksgiving for a 1 year anniversary where all previous guests are coming back.
And Jim, two things though. Yes, you can 1,000,000% contribute to the prize. And B, you can still pop on Friendsgiving. We're just not going to like have you like hang out like we might for the anniversary show. But brother,
it's going to be pop in, pop out. If you only want to hop on for like 10 minutes, that's fine. If you want to hang out with us for a half hour to an hour, that's cool too. If you want to jump on BGA and play a game of After Us with us, we'll do that too. If nobody hops on, it's just going to be me and Tim, honestly, shooting the shit and probably playing After Us and goofing off. So not much different than normal, except there won't be a topic.
Right.
There's no topic next week. It's just me and Tim drinking whiskey and being stupid. So again, not much different than normal.
Well, we want to highlight you guys, right? You guys are awesome. You guys are the driving force every week why we do this and why Mike and I get so excited. Doesn't matter how shitty or how garbage our weeks or our days were. We just are pumped to have y'all and to hang out with you guys and be around you guys.
Indeed. All right, let's do some outbursts, Tim.
Let's do some real quick.
Found some good ones.
Jeff, so guys, your face is perfectly fine, Jeff. It's been on camera before. You show up.
Yeah, it has. So we've been doing this the last few weeks. I found this copy of Outburst from 1990 at Goodwill in mint condition a couple years ago.
It wasn't in mint condition until you dropped it on your floor.
I did drop it on the floor, and all the cards scattered. And there's like a couple hundred cards in this that are double-sided. And it's basically Family Feud. Here's the topic, name the top 10. I don't know how these results were. I don't know how they got to these results. Doesn't matter. But what's fun is picking topics that interest Tim and then getting him to guess these top 10s, especially film-related ones, which you all know he loves. And these are pre-1990. So there's an extra layer of challenge here.
I love
All
it.
right,
I'm
Tim.
here for it. Let's go. Let's rock and roll.
Here's what I got. I have great film directors between 1960 and 1986.
Ooh.
Or Steven Spielberg films.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Just give me both of these. Let's start with Spielberg.
I knew that. All right,
Okay.
we'll start with Spielberg. Again, these should be all pre-1990, and the top 10 answers are on the board, Tim.
Jaws.
2.
E.T.
6.
1942.
No.
American Graffiti was George Lucas. Spielberg. So it's gonna be oh shit. I'm getting my George Lucas and my Steven Spielberg mixed up.
Wow.
Because they work together so much.
No, Tim, Star Wars doesn't
go. Color Purple.
8.
Okay, other Spielbergs in the 80s. Oh wait, did he direct all of these or did he pop in any of them? So like Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Number 7.
Okay. Okay, Poltergeist. Not on there, right?
4.
4. Okay, let me just say that's some bullshit because actually Toby Hooper directed Poltergeist, but like Spielberg is connected with it. So that means that Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Star Wars. Okay.
No. Temple of Doom, number 9.
Okay, Empire Strikes Back.
No.
Last Crusade.
No.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That was 3.
Okay. Oh, I already said that one. Okay. How many do I have left? 3 left. Okay.
10, 5, and 1.
So number 1. How do we not have number 1 if it's not Jaws?
I'll be honest, I don't even really know number 1.
E.T. Is Blues Brothers on there? I know he's in it, but that was directed by John Landis. Because I'm a nerd. Did he produce Twilight Zone, the movie?
Not on this list.
Okay, that's fair. 1990. So Jurassic Park was like 94, right? 93. So Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, not on there. Memoirs of a Geisha is not on there. Did he do let's see. I already said E.T., right?
Yep.
Oh, Empire of the Sun.
No.
I think he produced Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but that was directed by Robert Zemeckis.
No.
The Frighteners was way later. Gosh. Okay. Let's see. He produced Goonies, but that was directed by Richard Donner. Is Goonies on there?
Yes.
Oh, come on.
Number 5.
Oh, and I just looked. I swear to God, I did not cheat. David. Okay, so I've got 2 left.
Yeah, there's another really big one, and still, I don't even really know the number 1.
What's the number 1? Give me the number 1. Just give me the number 1.
American Tail.
Okay. Yeah. That's Fievel goes.
Tale.
Yeah, an American Tail.
Okay.
Fievel.
That's what I was thinking. I guess I never realized I was a Steven Spielberg movie.
Yep. Nope. I wouldn't have attributed Spielberg to that. Okay, but great movie. Love that one. Fievel goes.
10.
You said what? Hook?
Yeah.
Oh God, Hook sucks. Sorry.
Oh, this was 91. So again, we are kind of figuring out when this edition came out. This is the most recent mention I've seen in these cards. So 91 is on the board with these cards, Tim.
Golly.
Learn more every time we play.
Holy crap. I did love
Changes
American
everything.
Tail. But American Tail would not have been my first go-to.
Yeah.
I rented that movie so many times as a kid on VHS.
Holy shit, I don't know any of these people. I mean, what's up, Evan?
Was it
Hey,
Beneath
Donnie.
the Pale Moon a Prince movie? Yes, thank you, Jeff. Don Bluth. I don't think of Spielberg. I think of Bluth when it comes to that.
Oh, God. I know.
Donnie's my buddy, though. Donnie and I get so many of the same references. I don't want to throw Donnie under the bus, but we might be close to the same age because our references are almost always the same. And I don't want to make Donnie always that old as me.
Your next top 10 here, I only know 4 of these.
Okay, these are great directors from 1960 to 1986.
Correct. Great film directors, 60 to 86.
Okay, here we go. Spielberg.
No, just kidding. He's number 2.
Okay, Coppola. Francis Ford Coppola.
1.
Okay. William Friedkin.
No.
Ah, for shame. Martin Scorsese.
Number 10.
Okay, if the next name I name is not on your list, throw this card away. I will give you money to burn the card if Stanley Kubrick is not on this card.
Number 3.
Thank God. Okay, we can still be friends. George Lucas?
No.
Okay, so we said Coppola. What about Capra?
No.
Cassavetes?
No.
Ford?
No.
Polanski?
No.
Are you kidding me? I already said Capra. I said Polanski. Nicholson. He's probably not on there.
No. You got 4 out of 10.
Yeah, but they're missing some.
And Jeff, nope, and nope.
Oh, he said Ingmar Bergman. Bergman's was way before. Who was the Italian director? He directed 9.5mm. No, Hitchcock was before this. Hitchcock should be on there. He did enough stuff in the 60s. But between
all of these are English names.
Okay. Okay. Give me wait, hold on. No, don't.
You do not have 4 through 9.
Mike, I wish you knew movies more because I would be like, the guy who did Conan the Barbarian, and I'm
I got
hold on. Oh, this is gonna drive me nuts. Give me number 4.
No, there's nobody credited on
Orson Welles.
No, there's nobody credited on Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
It's on this.
It's the guy who wrote it or one of the writers. But anyways, give me number 4. Or the one the next one I don't.
Number 9. I'll start with the lowest one.
Okay.
Sidney Pollack.
Oh my God, Sidney Pollack. Holy crap. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Okay.
Number 8.
Yeah, give me 8.
Blake Edwards.
Blake Edwards went to jail. Okay.
Number 7, John Huston.
I thought John Huston was earlier, but I guess he did do some stuff. Hold on. Clint Eastwood.
No. You only got 3 left.
Sidney Poitier.
No.
Okay. So David guessed mine. John Milius.
No.
Oh, Milius is an amazing screenwriter. You guys, there's a documentary on John Milius y'all need to watch. Evan, I don't think it's John Hughes. He says John Hughes. And so did Donnie at the same time. Hughes was too early, right?
No John Hughes.
And no Cameron Crowe, because again, too early.
No.
We said
I'll give
Scorsese.
me
Give me a hint.
A hint. Hold on.
Do you know a movie of any of these other guys that have directed?
Hold on. I know number 4, but hold on. Let me see what I can do here. Oh, you mentioned this movie already during this list. No,
Oh shit.
you mentioned it during the last list.
Okay, what movie was that? Toby Hooper? Was it?
No,
John
the Blues
Landis.
Brothers.
John Landis.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is Toby Hooper on there?
No.
Joe Dante?
Nope.
Richard Donner?
Nope.
Damn. Because Richard Donner directed Superman, Goonies.
I'm sorry, I have to look this guy up.
Oh, Woody Harrelson. Or not Woody Harrelson, Woody Allen.
Yes, that's number 4.
There's another comedian at the same time. What the frick is his name? Anyways, do you have any other clues? I said Francis Ford Coppola already. John Carpenter.
I've heard this name. I'm just not recognizing any of these. Maybe they're just too old.
None of the movies. Give me one of the movies that you see. It's 1960 to 1984 or 86.
86. I don't even recognize these movies.
Give me you don't have to recognize it. Give me one of the movies.
High Noon.
High Noon. Oh my God, that wasn't John Huston. It's not Frank Capra. It's give me another one of those movies. It's not like Mario Bava. You said they're all American names, so it's not Mario Bava or Lucio Fulci. It's not George Romero. Is George Romero one of them?
No.
John Ford. Movies. John Ford. Jeff is saying John Ford. No, I already said Ford. I did.
The Secret of Santa Vittoria?
No, I've never even heard of that.
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
Oh, that's not Sidney Poitier. I know Guess Who's Coming, or Sidney Pollack. The Clint Eastwood movies were directed by an Italian director, like Good, the Bad, the Ugly. He did all the spaghetti westerns.
I'm giving it to you. It's Stanley Kramer.
Oh, Stanley Kramer. God, I don't even know that. I'm aware of that name, but no.
I've honestly never heard of any of these movies.
All right, give me another card, and then we'll let everybody go in mercy.
Fine.
I did well on the Spielberg, and I did okay enough on the directors. I'm not embarrassed.
Not bad. I mean, I am, but it's good that you are.
It's
okay. All right. Movie studios.
Ooh.
Or English rock groups of the early 60s.
Oh my God. Okay. Can we just do both of these real quick? Okay. So movie studios first.
You don't have to do them all in one night, Tim. Jim,
dude,
thanks for popping in, man. We're going to see you for at least one of the next 2 weeks.
And hopefully both of them though. Okay, movie studios, real quick.
I can always save rock groups of the early 60s. It's damn near midnight.
No, come on. I'll do them real quick.
Fine.
All right. So Metro Goldwyn Mayer, which is MGM.
Prior. Yes.
MGM, Paramount, New Line, RKO.
No.
RKO?
Paramount, yes. No.
Warner Brothers.
No.
What? Why am I blanking? Amblin Entertainment.
No.
Oh, Desilu is Jim's answer. That was but that was a TV. That was a TV studio, not a movie studio, right?
It says movie studios.
Jeff says United Artists.
7.
Barry says Canon.
No.
Oh, some of my favorite movies from the 80s were done by Orion.
No.
Full Moon.
No.
TriStar.
Nope. I mean, you're missing some big ones.
Seriously, we are.
Yeah.
What the hell? We said Paramount. We said MGM. Warner Brothers. We said.
I mean, you'll punch yourself if I give you 10. So I won't do it.
So Jeff says Fox and Barry says Fox. Universal. Oh my God, Universal's got to be number 1, right?
Number 10.
Universal's 10?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so
no
like
Lionsgate, no Disney.
I was gonna say Disney.
No.
Give me one of them. Just give me one of them.
Republic.
Give me another one.
Pinehurst.
Oh, Pinehurst is out of England. I should have freaking known that one. Hammer.
These last 3 you need to punch yourself for.
Hammer. Is Hammer one of them?
No.
Get out of here. Yeah, Bobby. MGM was one of the first ones I said.
Yeah. It was what the hell is it? It was number 3.
What's number 1?
Jeff. All of these are 91 and older. That's how old this game is. That's what makes it fun for Tim.
Give me another one.
You're gonna punch yourself.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm ready.
Samuel Goldwyn Studios.
And
if I gotta give you either one of the last 2, I remember them. I wouldn't have probably come up with it, but I definitely remember them.
Samuel Goldwyn merged with MGM.
These last 2. I mean, wait a minute. Technically, I guess you did get number 1.
What was number 1?
Barry got it because it's Fox. It's 20th Century.
20th Century Fox. Yes, they made Alien. Yeah.
Yes. You're missing number 2. You should be punched.
So
there it is.
Is it Sony or Columbia? Yeah, Columbia with the lady with the torch. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Okay, there you go. There's your movie studios.
Okay, British bands, real quick. British bands from
English
the 60s?
Rock groups of the early 60s.
Okay, the Animals.
9.
The Zombies.
No.
The Beatles.
No. 1.
Okay, thank you. Banana Alarm Clock. Isn't that what they were called? Pink Floyd.
No.
Oh, Floyd's not on there? What? The Rolling Stones?
3.
2. 3.
I don't think I know number 2.
Okay, hold on. I take that as a challenge. So Jeff Beck, what was the name? Oh, Led Zeppelin. Duh.
No.
Yardbirds. That's the band that Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page were both in, and Eric Clapton.
Yeah, but no.
Fuck you. The Yardbirds are totally there. Okay, so if it's not the Yardbirds, then it would be another English band that had a bunch of people go through. How are the Yardbirds not on there?
I don't know a lot of these.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, Deep
Purple. Deep Purple.
No. Early 60s.
Are you kidding me though?
Not late 60s.
Yeah, but these guys were on the scene. They were just in different funky band names. They were very incestuous with who was in Cream. No, Cream's too late because again, Clapton was in the Yardbirds first, which should be on that freaking list.
I mean, number 8 should be higher, and you'll punch yourself.
What's 8?
Just that one. No, I'll give you other ones. Number 8, you should be punched.
Okay, hold
Jerry
on.
and the Pacemakers.
Oh, I didn't know they were English.
Number 7.
Okay, so I know Jerry and the Pacemakers. I thought they were an American band. My bad. Hold on then. The Penguins? No, they're the 50s and they're probably American. They did Earth Angel.
Peter
Okay.
and Gordon.
Nope.
That was 6. Then I'm guessing you may not know Chad and Jeremy.
No, I don't know Chad and Jeremy.
Right. Or
okay.
Herman's Hermits.
Oh, Herman's Hermits. Henry the Eighth I am. Henry the Eighth I am. Yeah. I got married to a widow next door. She's been married 7 times before, and every one of them was at Henry. Henry. Yeah. Herman's Hermits is awesome.
I skipped over number 10. Freddie and the Dreamers.
I can't do a Freddie and the Dreamer song, but I've heard of them at least. But Herman's Hermits, holy shit. Okay, so the Birds, hold on, are the Birds on there?
No. You got 2 left. 1, you're gonna punch yourself. Number 2, I think, is harder. I've heard of them, but the Dave Clark 5.
I've heard of the Dave Clark 5. Again, I think I thought they were American.
But like number 8 should have been number 3 or 4. Move Stones up to 2.
Yeah.
Move the 8 up to 3. The Who.
Oh my God, I fucking love The Who. How did I not get The Who? Tommy is one of my favorite movies. I'm probably the only person I know that genuinely actually likes The Who. Nobody else I know loves The Who like I do. God damn it. Yeah. Roger Daltrey, Peter Townsend, John Entwistle, and Keith Moon. I can name the whole lineup of The Who. I love The Who. Keith Moon died prematurely, and Roger Daltrey is just one of my favorite vocalists of all time.
Their best stuff was also late 60s and early 70s.
It really was. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Like Won't Get Fooled Again was like 72 or 71.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and even Pinball Wizard I thought was late 60s.
Yeah, it is. But honestly, let's just be real. Elton John's version of Pinball Wizard is the superior version. Let me just tell you, every version of any of the songs from Tommy that was done in the movie was better by whoever did it in the movie. Again, had Clapton, you have Tina Turner singing Acid Queen, Elton John doing Pinball Wizard. It's just, I mean, it's, I love Tommy, but give me the movie soundtrack over the straight band version of that album. That's how much of a music nerd I am. I cannot believe I did not say The Who. You're right. I'm going to be mad at myself for ages about The Who, because God damn it, I love The Who.
Their best songs are not early 60s, though. I think that's why that one was a little tough to come up with.
And Jeff, you are right. Tommy is a really weird movie. And if you watch that without chemical assistance, it's almost even weirder. Because I will say that a little bit of additive helps that movie go down a little bit. But I watch it completely sober, and I'm just there for the music and just the weirdness of 70s cinema. I will also say one of my favorite Who songs, other than Eminence Front, because I think Eminence Front is great, but a very underrated and kind of weird older song from The Who is Mama's Got a Squeeze Box. I love that song. Mama's got a squeeze box, Daddy never sleeps at night. Like, I don't know. That song just gets me every time. And yeah, I love Roger Daltrey. I love The Who.
Such a stretch for them to be early 60s. I'm looking at years on these. My generation is 65.
That's not even early 60s. You're now into mid 60s. Right. And thank you, Barry. Squeeze me. Yeah.
I Can't Explain is 64, but I didn't think that song was really that popular.
And Evan, you might be right. It may not be about music, but listen, if mama's got a squeeze box, daddy ain't sleeping at night.
Squeezing that box.
I love it.
This is just, there's not a single song that's credited before 1965. This is,
Yeah,
hey,
maybe Boris the Spider. Look up Boris the Spider. That's a really weird old school
I mean,
Who song.
Who Are You is 78.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a
like
freaking fantastic song.
71 to 78 is really where they made their name for
Well,
themselves.
that's the thing is I think of the Who as like a late 60s or like through the
Acid
70s.
Queen is 69, like
yeah. And again, you need to listen or watch the Tina Turner version of that. It will blow your freaking brains out of your skull. Tina Turner sings that song better than Pete Townsend ever can. Just telling you. Just telling you. Mike, I'm going to send you a link to Acid Queen with Tina Turner singing it. Okay. It's so good, but it's going to give you nightmares. So you may want to wait till tomorrow morning to watch it.
Okay. Boris the Spider is 66.
See?
I mean, they have one song credited at 65, and yet they're called an early 60s band. That's a questionable. That is why this game is given like a 4.5 on BGG.
And let me just say, controversial opinion, because when they did like the song of the century and they said that it was Can't Get No Satisfaction from the Rolling Stones, which I think is like a way overrated song and band. I will say my generation is 100 times better than Satisfaction. I will listen to my generation way before I'll listen to Satisfaction. And also Summertime Blues by The Who. Man, really good song.
Call me a weirdo, but give me Beast of Burden all day long.
Listen, Beast of Burden's a really good song. I just think the Stones are generally overrated.
I do too. That's why I like one of their less popular songs.
And my favorite Stone song of all time is Dead Flowers. So if you haven't heard Dead Flowers, check it out. I think it was, I don't know. I just love Dead Flowers. Really good song. But again, for me to really like, the Stones are fine. It's not like I flip the channel when they come on, but they're not my go-to British rock band. I love the Who. I can't believe I didn't think of them. Yeah, David, Paint It Black, right? Paint It Black is probably my second favorite Rolling Stone song.
That's a good one.
And then after that, maybe Mother's Little Helper, and then Gimme Shelter, but Gimme Shelter gained a lot of traction thanks to Rock Band.
That is true.
I also like Ruby Tuesday, I like Start Me Up, but I like Start Me Up better when it is parodied in the in A Mighty Wind by the what are they called? The Folksmen. And it's basically the guys who were Spinal Tap. They did a version of Start Me Up, which is incredible, because it really puts a different perspective on the song. Because
another rock band reference. I forgot about this one. Can't You Hear Me Knocking?
Can You Hear Me Knocking? Yeah, that's a good rock band one.
All right. Yeah. It's after midnight. Too.
It is. Yeah, Barry, you're right. Honky Tonk Woman's really good, but I really love the Guns N' Roses version of Sympathy for the Devil, i.e. Interview with the Vampire from the 90s. Man, that's a badass version of that song. We Got to Get Out of This Place is the Animals. Absolutely love that song, David. or is it the animals, or is it the zombies? I forget. It's one of those.
Wild Horses is another favorite of mine.
Wild Horses is good. I'm going to send you a link to Dead Flowers, the Acid Queen, and something else. I think there was one other one I was supposed to send you. But yeah, John, you're right. We need to go to bed. And Barry, I don't know if that song broke GNR or if it just came out at the time that GNR broke. Chicken or the egg scenario there. Oh, yes. There we go. It was the animals. Thank you, David. Oh, Barry, I didn't know that Slash said it. GNR is one of my all-time favorite bands. So
you should know that then.
I feel like I should, but I'm glad. And Evan, Mr. Brownstone is my favorite Guns N' Roses song next to Night Train. Those two, right off of Appetite for Destruction. Depending on the day you ask me, Mr. Brownstone, Night Train from Guns N' Roses, both of them are kind of like B-sides. My favorite GNR songs of all time. Unpopular opinion, I don't care. But y'all freaking rock. I love you guys. Thank you for being on. Thanks for checking out our guest, Mark Wilson, tonight. Check out his Kickstarter. Thank you for indulging us on the late start. My daughter had a band concert. It was her first band concert tonight, so I had to get over there.
She's in a Rolling Stones cover band?
Thankfully, no. So I didn't have to endure that. No, you know, 6th grade band. So they did a couple of things like hot cross buns and, you know, some stuff like that. But next week, guys, Friendsgiving. If you've got any questions about it or you've got some qualms, reach out to us. If you, let's just say you're Evan and you want to come on the show, right? Like, come on the show with us. Like, do something. Evan, have we talked to Evan about being on our 1-year anniversary yet? Because we got to do that if we haven't.
I know. Evan, it's the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. David wants a Discord link. Gladly. Evan, we want you on our 1-year anniversary show.
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now. All previous guests are coming back. So we got a lot of people coming back.
Yeah, and if anybody is in Texas for BGG Con, which is happening this week, you guys need to find guys like Evan and some other people, say hey, play their prototypes, and hang out with them. Are we going to have a vid on Christmas suggestions? Are you talking about Christmas gifts there, Hanzo? Yes. You bet your ass we are. You know we will.
It was actually one of the very first Whiskey Wednesday episodes we ever did was games to play with your family on the holidays. So, yeah, I definitely, especially, in the next coming weeks, we'll definitely do something like that, especially once you start seeing, you know, those online sales that time up right around Cyber Monday. That's a good time to do that list. So right around then is when we'll do that one.
Yeah, so Hanzo, be ready, man. And just so you know, the Friendsgiving thing is going to run the whole time we're streaming. So even if you can only pop up later, you know, pop in later because of your time zones and when you guys watch, do it. Take advantage. We want to say hey to you. We want to thank you. We want to be able to showcase you and show our appreciation. This Thanksgiving.
For 5-10 minutes and, you know, pick a topic real fast. Rapid fire a question at us. Tell me the best game you played this year. You know, just
literally ask us anything.
Minutes. You can keep the video off. You can just do audio.
Ask us anything. We will tell you.
We have no topic picked. Me and Tim are just hanging out, and whoever wants to jump on will get on. So that's how we're running it.
And if anybody like Evan or Giuliano or any of our friends that are designers and they pop on and you want to ask them a question, it is fair game.
That's
David,
No!
I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say you need to pop on next week because that might be relevant. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
That's all I'm saying.
All
No.
right. I don't.
That's it, Mike.
Wow. I didn't know if you were going to go through with that.
I'm just saying.
All right. It's a
we
possibility.
It's a
I mean,
possibility.
well, I mean, David sounds interested.
I mean, listen, people have had their chances. We've drawn like 4
I know,
winners that have never
months.
claimed
We've
it.
been trying to give this away since Gen Con. That was 3 months ago now.
So Barry, you're going to have to either pop on next week and ask us or wait for our video to come out. And I was the only one that poo-pooed that game, to be fair.
I'm just glad that whether I have pants on or not is still a relevant question.
Yeah.
The answer is I'm rocking shorts. So yes, we're safe. If you would like to jump on during Friendsgiving, just to ask if I have pants on, that's cool.
I forgot Barry is going to be out hunting next week. I will tell you, I'll give you the real quick and dirty. After the Empire does some really unique things, it is for me a feel bad game. Like all of the decisions you make in the game feel bad. They're hard. They're unique, but I just did not have fun playing it. I played it a couple times and it's fiddly for me, and not after the Empire. Oh wait, he said after the Empire. I was thinking Empire's End. Hold on. After the Empire's awesome. Love it. Sorry, Evan. No, Evan, I wasn't talking about your game. Your game's good. I enjoy your game.
No, he got After the Empire confused with John DeClare's Empire's End, which just came out. And I think you're going to have people getting those names confused, unfortunately.
Oh my God. Evan, I am so sorry. I genuinely really liked your game.
He's taking it in stride as Tim's just shitting on his passion project.
Evan, I'm so sorry. I genuinely liked your game. Oh, well. Awkward.
Cancel.
Put that on your bingo card. Tim gets his games mixed up and then totally destroys it in front of the designer.
Man.
Okay, so Evan, I did not enjoy Empire's End. Empire's End was a feel bad game for me. But I really did like. No, Evan, though, God love you. You're a great dude. And I love you for that. And I know you mean it. But I really did actually like After the Empire. I just have been getting those damn game titles mixed up in my brain.
Yeah, it's easy to do because of the names. I also was not an Empire's End fan. It just didn't feel good. It kind of felt stressful. I didn't like to constantly have to try to mitigate future unforeseen circumstances, and any result you get doesn't really feel good. It just feels bad. It just something's going to get destroyed and it feels bad. And I know that's a unique idea that I didn't like it. I didn't.
Yeah. So you're welcome, Barry. We gave you a little a bit of comedy there.
All my lands are burning. You are correct. Constantly trying to put out fires.
Return of the Empire might be the best sequel to a game ever made.
I'm glad people are enjoying it. I love John DeClare. I talk about his games all the time. Misty Vale was on my list, but
Empire's End, not Empire's Happy Time. Yes, Bob, you are correct. It doesn't change the fact that it's still not fun for me to play. But
I mean, yeah. Okay. Ooh. I already thought of a couple.
Well, I can name 2. One I really like and one I dislike. And one I accidentally just crapped on, but I didn't mean to. The problem is the more whiskey I have, the harder the list that becomes.
All right. You guys are awesome, but we got to call this thing a night at some point.
We do. But I'm very excited for Friendsgiving. Everybody that can show up, please do.
Please.
Y'all are awesome. And thank you so much for yet another super fun Whiskey Wednesday. It is the best. And yeah, Evan, we're going to get there. You too, man. Have a great convention. Have an awesome time down there in Texas. I'm super jelly. I can't be there. Find Jim Cole, shake that man's hand, and tell him we love him from us. Because I know Jim's already gone. But I know he's there because he's a native. And same thing with Matthew Ryan. Tell him he's awesome and that we miss him.
Chris Strain go to that one?
Oh, Texas. Chris Strain. Hey, Evan, do me a favor and ask Chris Strain what he thought of his time in the band Aqua was. Like what he thought of that. And why is Barbie Girl like his greatest hit? And then just tell him it was a board game rundown joke. And he may or may not remember it, but it will make me so happy if you ask him if he was in Aqua.
You know what's going to be wild about Friendsgiving is that I don't really have to get up at a decent time the next day or anything. There's like no requirements. I do have to drive 2 hours the following day, but I'll live.
No, Evan, but I did make a joke one time when we were on the full 42 that he looks like the lead singer from Aqua. Like if you give Chris Strain the sideburns that dude has from Aqua, like it looks like him.
Oh God.
But yeah, so ask Chris Strain. My goal is when I know that I'm meeting Chris Strain like in person for the first time, I am going to purchase an Aqua CD. And I'm going to ask Chris to sign it. And I'm going to get my picture with him and that Aqua CD. It's happening. Just telling you. And then, Nick's Friendsgiving is next Wednesday. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So.
Yes.
And if it goes well, we will do it every year. Just telling you.
That's the dips.
I don't think he has enough hair. Like the lead singer from Aqua, no hair. He's like me. Every other person in a band from the 90s or late 90s, early 2000s absolutely needs the frosted tips. I'm looking at you, Sugar Ray. But thank you guys so much. It's awesome. I can't believe it's after midnight. And Evan, I'm going to find, before I go to bed, I'm going to find you a picture of the lead singer from Aqua and send you a picture and you'd be like,
I would share it, but I already canceled my screen sharing. So loser.
It's all good. It's all good. Mike, thank you again for such a great show. Thanks for being here, man. Super fun.
It was fun. Great topic tonight.
I'm really glad we're coming on a year of doing this. How much fun is that?
That's crazy. Crazy.
And Mike doesn't know nothing about Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I wish I could get Mike to watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force because I really think he'd like this character called Meatwad on there.
There what now?
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna set him up. You knock him down. Even though I think Shake is my favorite. Master Shake is my just because he's always starting shit on there.
The mastermind.
But y'all are the best. Thank you so much. We will see you next week. I cannot wait. It's gonna be awesome.
Yes. Join us.
Join us. Yeah, Jeff. I don't need instructions to know how to rock because I got the foreigner belt. I love the neighbor Carl too. But whenever I try to do Carl, it just sounds like my Macho Man impersonation.
That's true. Yeah, my pool's tearing ass around the backyard.
Yeah. All right, guys. For the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
I've been Carl.
Who else is here from Aqua Teen?
We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Meatwad. We'll see y'all later. Peace out. See you next week for Friendsgiving.
Later.
We'll see you. Good job, Stonemeyer. A 7.3 repeating. 3 heating. 3 heating. 3 heating.